Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Hello and welcome to the final round of Premier Endurance League. Tonight we head to the amazing Fuji Speedway, running the full Grand Prix layout. It's going to be a very, very exciting 2-hour race coming up here on SimSpeed TV over the next couple of hours. Jay Kennedy and Pete Baxter alongside me. Pete, we weren't expecting to do this together alone. We were hoping to have Scott Rankin with us, but he might be too busy watching the cricket and enjoying the victory that's oncoming. But this should be a very, very fun night of racing.
Well, Jay, you, myself, and the whole sim racing world knows that Scotty's a bit of a cricket fan, and the Ashes are about to get cleaned up. So, 2-0, I think, over. So maybe Scotty's just locked in that, forgotten that he's got a date here with us, and he's left us, like Ned Kelly at the gangway, ready to hang. So, but anyway, love to be commentating here with you. Fuji Speedway. After last week's, or 2 weeks ago, we had the Open Series at Motegi. A lot of rain, a lot of wet weather halfway through the race, a really mixed up race. It's looking tonight like we've got a really clear race. Fuji Speedway is an awesome track. It's got really, really good open straight lines. It's got lots of technical stuff about it. And according to some, you just got to stay away from those yellow curbs and you should be able to put a good lap together. But yeah, looking forward to tonight's race.
And this is the circuit which we are racing tonight. Only one of two circuits within iRacing that have had events at the Olympic Games used on it. There you go. There's a stat for you there, Pete. Of course, this one and Barcelona both were used. This was used in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics for the cycling events, and it was very, very cool to see the start-finish line used for giving out gold medals in the Olympics. But this circuit started out in what was proposed to be an oval. You can see a little bit of the remnants there on the left of your screen of where the original banking was, and it is still there. But the circuit was then changed and reconfigured into what is now an iconic raceway. Of course, it hosted Formula One a couple of times in the late 2000s. But this layout, very, very well known from those that have played sim racing or racing games for a long, long time. It is a very, very cool track.
Yeah, look, Jay, it's been on a lot of other sim arcades that we have. It's I would say it's a reasonably recent addition to iRacing. We've had it for about, I think, a year or 18 months or so. Lovely track. Turn 1, absolute overtaking opportunity for everybody. Turn 2 is a bit of a no turn. You just kind of drive through that. Turn 3 is a turn where you can gain a whole lot of time. You go through 100R, 4 and 5 is kind of a double apex, really, really tricky corner. And then you've got to get the car stabilised out of 5 to be able to brake for the hairpin at turn 6. You come through 7, 8 and 9 just flat out. 300R, very much like Suzuka, 300R, except you're going right, not left. But I'll tell you what, the difference tonight, in this case, a lot of people race Fuji and they get down to turn 10 there. They just do a right-hand turn and head straight up towards turn 13. But tonight we've got the chicane in play. So that turn 10, it's a really, really tight corner. So if you come out of their hairpin really good and get a run on your competitor, you've got another really, really genuine overtaking position down there at turn 10. 11, 12, little tricky chicane to get through. You kind of got to come out of turn 10 really tight to open up 11 and maximise your time there to come through. 13, 14 blind corners, 15 blind corner as well. 16's a really tricky corner to find your turning spot, but if you don't get your turning spot right for 16 for the straight, you're going to lose heaps of time. So, and that heaps of time turns into an overtaking spot for somebody else down at the end of turn 1. So a massive track. It's a nice long straight, so drivers do get a little bit of a break every lap down the straight. But I tell you what, there's some really technical parts, and if you haven't got your setup right tonight, it's really easy to have a car that, say, does Porsche things like throw the back end out around between 4 and 5 and particularly around 14 and 15. Same with other cars, the mid-engine cars and the rear-engine cars. They just sort of will tend to lose grip at some stage if you push them too hard through those corners. But yeah, I'd say who's got their setup right tonight. But there's some fast times out there, and it's looking good.
The other point as well, it is a very, very technical pit entry to get into and very easy to get yourself a penalty there as well. So no doubt we will see that throughout the night. Championship standings coming into the final round, and that is the wrong graphic, so let me reload that. But Damon Wood's still on top. He is leading the championship by about 134 points over Zach
I'll go through it. Yeah, mate, you go and reload it. So right now, Damon Wood, 1,537 points, P1 in the championship. He's pretty much got it sewn up tonight. Zach Rattray White got a lot of followers out there on the YouTube land, so ZRW will be followed. I think a lot of people like to see him come second, or maybe even challenge Damon, but it's a bit hard to get those amount of points in one race. Damon would have to have a shocker for ZRW to get ahead of him. Dak and Dean, they're in a race, right? 100 points. If one has a shocker, the other is going to jump them. So there is something to fight there between Zach and Dean. P4, Adam Hughes, My Performance Racing. Sam Sutton had a great run at Motegi. P5, Lockie Capel had a good run. Lots of faith. The Orbit drop there. They had great runs at Motegi. Stephen McCartan was a pain in the Orbit drop bear racing at Motegi. That was really good to watch. All those guys come together. Dan Yeoman in P8, Stuart Ellison P9, and Angus Lawford P10.
And this is the grid for the final race of the season with Zach Rattray White alongside Damon Woods. Woods on the front row pips him by 1/10 of a second. Up next, we go back to row 2, which has... Why is it not changing page? We're having a good start to the night, aren't we? It's Dean Mackay in 3rd and Adam Hughes in 4th position. So 3 different teams in the top 4. Go back further to Sam Sutton and Isaac Curtis on row number 3. Row 4 will be Andrew Scordelis and Stephen McCartan with Dylan Shepherd and Lachlan Capel on row number 5. Row 6 will be Tyson Broad and Stuart Ellis. From there, we go back to Denzel Waitan and Matt Webber, and Ethan Bass and Blake Neck on row number 8. Row 9 will have Ben Jeffrey and Kurt Chapman. Row 10 will contain Bobby Camo and Stuart Shaw. We'll quickly go through the rest as they're already on the front straight. Rick Provenzale, Angus Lawford, Brad Coates, Owen Coleman, Alex Cattle next with Brant Tucker alongside Martin Hallinan, Harry Dodds, Terry Marsh, Dan Yeaman a long way back, then Leith McClymont, Brock Cadeye and Trent Allen, our field for tonight's race.
Yeah, look, and yeah, it's interesting to see Trent Allen right down the back there. That's a surprise for me. So, anyway, Damon Wood, Zach White, P1 and P2, they're up the front, ready to have a go, waiting for the green flag, and away they go. And it looks like Damon Woods has got an absolute great start out of the box. Zach White is trying to cover. He's going to have to cover off Lockie Capel there on the inside. And see what happens down the front. Massive big braking opportunity here in down 1. We might see a little bit of carnage, mate, as we get into down 1. It depends how careful they are.
Yeah, 100%. Always chance for it front, nose to tail contact. Sorry, there's a bit of elbow out action there between Scodillis and Alice, who both lost and gained spots respectively side by side through turn 3, though. Isaac Curtis and Sam Sutton down a couple of positions from where he started. He'll be a bit disappointed with that. But Woods, Rattray White and Mackay have broken free at the front of the field. The rest of the field looks relatively clean, except there is an issue at the back of the field for Brant Tucker and Terry Marsh. We'll catch that on the replay soon. Stuart Ellis, look at this pack that he's involved with. 3 wide, if you don't mind.
Yeah, look, it's a good track to go 3 wide. There's lots of room on the track, and you can go side by side with a lot of cars, but you've got to give them a little bit of space. If you're on the inside or if you're on the outside, you've got to expect a little bit of space. You can do that for the first lap, and this field's probably going to take a lap to get settled. We're getting into a fairly tricky part of the circuit now. We're back into the last few corners. These are the blind corners, and if you haven't got it right, these are the corners where you can get into a lot of trouble. You can spin the car if you hit the brakes a little bit too late, and I think someone has just done that. And yeah, that's going to mix it up. There's another spinner there just as we go into Tyson Broad into the last turn, and that's the one that makes a really big difference on the way onto the straight. So Tyson dropped a few positions there.
I think it was Bobby Camo that may have made contact with him, but that one a little bit more action-packed than race control would have hoped. They're going to have a little bit of a busy time sorting that out, but at the front, the top 7 are relatively clear, and they've broken a bit of a gap behind Dylan Shepherd and Stuart Ellis. They're side by side, but they've lost a lot of ground the rest of the field behind. The rest of the field in front, they have dropped a huge margin. Yeah,
I suspect that spin from Tyson Broad has actually broken, given that top 7 a bit of a gap. So he sort of came from that late top 10 position and had that spin. So the top 7 now got a little bit of a gap. So we haven't talked about strategy yet tonight, mate. And I'll tell you, 55% fuel tank for everybody. So I've worked it out to be 20 to 21 laps, depending on how heavy you are on the right foot with your brake. So we're going to see, I expect, 2.5 pit stops. So 2 full pit stops, and then there's a half tank splash and dash that's somewhere in the last 20 minutes of this race. So that's what I'm expecting the race to be. No good just driving away and winning, because everybody's go through those pit cycles. And percentage of a safety car tonight, mate, that's the one thing that really changes the normality of a pit cycle. Oh, and there we go. We've got somebody getting a little bit of trouble.
So that was Lachlan Capel there that made contact with the OPR car. I'm not sure exactly who it was. And then Broad ran extremely wide and then bumped over the grass, looped it around, and then bang, I believe that's Bobby Camo who made contact with him there and heavily damaged his car. I'm just seeing there's another car having issues. Ethan Bass has dropped a long way down on this lap, which is surprising because he's usually got pretty good pace and finds himself around the top 10 in this field, but he's back in 28th now.
Yeah, well, if we go back to the Motegi race, all of those Orbit drop bear cars, which are those purple and yellow ones, they were all together pretty much for the whole race. So to see them spread from the field, pretty much from the front to the back of the field now, a couple of them are going to have a challenging race, and we see a couple of them come in the pits now. One fast repair, everybody, for the race tonight. So if you've had a bit of a crash or a bit of a collision in the first lap, you're not out of it. You can come in, you get your fast repair, you get going. A safety car will bring you back to the field, and your race is not over. So we've got a little bit of leeway there. But there we go. There's another Mustang having a spin in a corner. That's what I talked about earlier, Jake. What can happen in this race, mate?
100%. That was Dan Yeaman, a little bit of contact there. So he has got back going, but as you can see that we've got a couple of drivers in pit lane. Harry Dodds, Tyson Broad, Leith McClymont, who actually picked up a black flag, and Rick Provenzale also in.
Yeah, good to see Ricky Provenzale out there. He's had a little bit of a sort of very difficult run in his own league. Quite often he comes out and just comes out and starts from the rear of grid. But in this, he does have a bit of a qualifying. He wasn't too bad tonight, but yeah, he doesn't always have the best of races. So I'm not sure whether all the competitors go, we're going to give you a hard time, Ricky, and put him down the back of the field. So, get out, just run the race. We're good, we're having fun. But I don't think that's the case, ladies and gentlemen. All good fun.
It might be that he's been so focused on the series itself that he hasn't had as much chance to get involved in participating in practice as he would like.
That's a really fair comment.
It's a legitimate comment because we do know that a lot of work goes on behind the scenes in every single league.
Yeah, Ricky puts an insane amount of time in to make sure that this league runs well.
Guess who's turned up? The alarm's finally woken him up. Hello, Scott Rankin.
Hey boys, sorry, it's been an incredibly busy weekend just trying to get things off and sorted.
We thought you must have fallen asleep on the couch watching the cricket.
Well, that was definitely... I nearly had a nap actually earlier this afternoon. It probably would have been okay for this afternoon, but no, unfortunately life has required a few organisational bits and pieces over the last couple of days, and that has devolved into me completely losing track of time on this grand final Sunday for Open Division.
But we're away, and hey Jay, I've got a sound effect for you now that Scott is here. You ready?
Yep.
Did that work?
No, I didn't, because I've got sound effects blocked on Discord, so it didn't work. Kurt Chapman's just had a moment through the chicane, though.
That was me opening a can of rum.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
now that Scotty's here, I thought, now I can relax, enjoy the night with everyone. All right, so yeah, Scotty, let's catch you up, mate. A fairly sedate sort of first lap for everybody until we got around turn sort of 6, and then the last 2 turns, a couple of incidents that sort of spread the field out. Damon Woods has got away to an absolute cracking start. Zach Ratway-White and Dean Mackay are battling for 2nd and 3rd, as they have the whole season, and pretty much as they did through Matigi. The Orbit Truck Bear guys, a couple of them have had some spins. Tyson Broad's had a bit of a spin, and so the Orbit Truck Bear guys have sort of spread themselves out amongst the old field. We've got about 4 cars that have pitted already, early pit stops. We've got a 2.5 pit stop race. We've got 1 fast repairs, which 4 guys have used already. No safety cars as yet. Scotty, over to you. Let's take it home, mate.
Yeah, well, the big thing will be is at this point in time, Damon Woods, after missing out on that last round, it will be a challenge in terms of the points. This is another moment at the moment for Lachlan Capel. Remember, he's just changed teams on board the now Orbit Drop Bear Mustang as he changes out of Evolution Racing team at the back end of this one.
Yeah, Pete,
what's going on for Capel?
It's exactly what Pete was talking about in the pre-race. Curbs, they're very, very aggressive, and if you flip a little bit too much, whether it be the yellow curbs or sometimes the AstroTurf curbs, it will unsettle the car. A little bit of a divot or a gutter on the edge of the curbs will unsettle the car and can spin you around if you're a bit too aggressive on it, and that's what's happened to Capel there.
And the big thing is that mainly happens when the tyres are either overheated or underheated. The problem he's got now, back to 23rd spot in the running order. And for Lachlan, there'll be some work to do and a set of overheated tyres. After the last round as well, for Damon Woods, still managed to maintain that 134-point lead. So for him tonight, just needs to control the pace and control the early running. 8 minutes and change through the final round of the season for 2025 in the Open Series. Alex Cattle stepped on board a Ferrari. He's been here the last couple of rounds, just getting on board the series, bringing himself up to speed. He's going to try and go the long way round at turn 1 of Danzel Weitan. And not going to be on this occasion. And Fuji, of course, the draft along that main straight is a priority in terms of how you generate the overtake. You've either got to fuel save or get it done. The problem is you're going to require a little bit of that Mechanical grip at under braking at turn 1. Cat Eye unhappy, and the lights were ablaze as he battles away with Trent Allen at this point in time. Upset and unhappy with being caught up, but the thing is, either make the pass or don't. And the big thing, Pete, in these classes, in these categories, that battle can drop you, and particularly at Fuji, where that draft is so important, will drop you a couple of places. But Brad Coates, he's actually just gone by on the run of the turn number 1, so they went 3 wide into turn 1 here.
Yeah, have a look at this 3 wide, and that's what you were just saying, Scotty. The draft is so important. If you get a really good run at a last turn, turn 1 becomes an absolute overtaking opportunity. But you've got to be able to slow down for turn 1 and get through it. Just like those, that was 2 positions there.
Yeah, and that's Trent Allen picking off 2 spots. I can't, but the thing is, the lights were ablaze. I just can't pick anything that's wrong with that. Trent Allen saw an opportunity and went for it.
No, but unusually, Scotty, what you missed, Trent Allen start from rear of grid. So I'm not sure whether he missed qualifying or whether there was a car change there. I don't think so, because he's in a Mustang, right? We know all these aliens drive Mustangs. But yeah, so Trent Allen was the rear of the grid driver. So I kind of expect Trent to come through the grid tonight. That's a classic move. So he's probably come out of the thing, kind of last turn really well. He's used the draft really well, and he's made 2 spots. So whether he's used his teammate to leverage off that. Maybe Oscar Piastri can do that for Lando Norris tonight.
Yeah, that'll be the big thing later on tonight as we wind our way into the bulk of this race. 10 minutes now out of the way. Rattray White looks back at Dean Mackay. And these two have gotten closer and closer together as the season's gone on. The challenge will be from Dean. Does he fuel? I think his best opportunity at this point in time is to fuel save a little bit. Look how much better he is on the brakes at the back end of the back straightaway. That could be. Oh, that was a lot of the sausage curb as they make their way out of the backstretch chicane. The problem will be is keeping those tyres underneath, and I wonder whether or not Rattray White's just trying to not maximise the braking, just to conserve a little bit of that tyre temperature.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a couple of drivers tonight, and the question I asked every driver I talked to pre-race, what's the secret to Fuji? And one of them, no names, no factors, one of them was, don't hit the sausage curves. And we saw that car bouncing, the front of the car bounced up. If you hit those sausage curves, particularly in the last set of corners, it bounces the car right up. It does damage to your front aero, it can do damage to your back aero, and it can also spin you out of control. So stay away from those yellow sausage curves to be able to get a fast lap. But as you know, Scotty, you've got to kind of cheat the circuit as much as you can to get a fast lap too. So you've got to sort of get as close as possible to the sausage curves. You know, when you're driving in a sim, as close as possible sometimes means you're going to hit them.
Yeah, you got to challenge and take away every little bit of an advantage that you possibly can. So for now, we'll watch them and wait for them to continue looking to try and get things done. 10-second time penalty now for Dylan Shepherd from lap earlier on in the session.
That's from lap 1.
That'll be lap 1 at this point in time. That's the Aston Martin at this point in time, I believe, is Shepherd as well, right up and underneath the gearbox of Sam Sutton. He's going to dive it to the inside. The Mustang will be forced to go the long way round. And Shepherd will pick off 1 spot.
Yeah, and that puts him up to P7, Scotty. The Aston Martin's coming along in terms of this race. I mean, it's the... Well, I was going to say it's the first non-Mustang, but no, we do have Stephen McCartan up there in the Ferrari again, showing that you don't have to pick the Mustang to be fast. And I love that from Stefan. I love that he's in that Ferrari and he's been able to get out there and mix it. You know, it just proves that, you know, whilst everybody thinks that, you know, the Mustang's the car to have, the other ones can get up and there and mix it. So, yeah, would Damon Woods be still at the front if it was in a Ferrari? We don't know, because, you know, it's something I'd really like to test, but at least there's a mix of cars up there in the top 10.
Well, I mean, you know, that's part of the work that you do. Just put yourself in the right car for the situation. Adam Hughes looking to attack the back of Isaac Curtis. 10-second time penalty just coming through the car, 2.99 at this point in time as well, which will be Brad Coates for an incident back on lap 2 as well. So all of that chaos. And the challenging nature of Fuji as well is there are so many long, loaded corners. Even the hairpin at turn 6. There's Coca-Cola corner here at turn 3. and then often through the long, arduous 4 and 5 before you get to the hairpin. This hairpin down at 6 is not a short corner either. The tyres just get abused through this sector. And then there's the final sector, the final group of corners as well, down through 13, 14, 15. I believe Adam Hughes has just picked off one spot, which is Ida Curtis as well. So he has now made that move.
Yeah, he just did that into the turn to hairpin with the chicane in place. Scotty, the one thing that I'm really watching on the cars tonight is when these guys are actually on the brake. So I'm watching, as you know, I watch a lot of my iRacing from the far chase anyway, and these guys, and normally you kind of use the brakes a little bit to help the car turn, but I'm watching these guys, and these superstars. We're watching the best of the best in Australia race in GT3 Endurance. A lot of these guys, they don't use the brakes, so they've got these setups really well dialed in. They're driving around these corners, these really long corners, double apex ones, without using the brakes, maintaining a whole lot of momentum, and then they're only just using the brakes to do a big turn in from the next corner. So particularly around the sort of the 5, 6, and then in through that last set of corners, the 14, 15 set of corners. Just watching them there with their brake, it's just really fascinating.
Yeah, different little approaches. Some of them using an engine braking to settle the car. And also the line you take down through 14 into 15 as well, and into 16. There is really 3 or 4 different lines that all work through that section of the racetrack. Any of them can be made to work. At the meantime, Lawford looking to try and make some progress with his race so far. 22nd to 13, gain of 9 spots. He'll be quite happy with himself to this point in time. Stuart Shaw is actually just ahead of him, has also made a fair bit of ground as well.
And Bobby Camo, 747, just to pick up a 10-second penalty for an incident on lap 1. So that would have been one of the incidents that were either cost, I think it was Tyson Broad, I think, or who was the other car, Jay? On the one, there's 2 cars that had to speak.
I can tell you Tyson Broad is done for the day as well, so he will not be returning to racing action. So, Chaos, the challenge of Fuji is that it is quite a wide racetrack, and that really goads you into having a go. Damon Woods is going to go ahead and set a new fastest lap of the race at a 37.3. He's so far been about 0.4 of a second faster than the rest of the field. The rest of the field, at least the quicker drivers, in and around the 37.7 to 37.8 marker thus far. Last time by, actually, Damon Woods was 0.7 of a second faster than teammate Zach Rattray White, and Rattray White was about 0.2 of a second faster than Dean Mackay. So a little bit of gains there. This will be Lachlan Cable drafting past Brad Coates. Look at the damage on the front end of Brad Coates' car. You can just see he wasn't even able. Remember a couple laps ago we saw that 3 wide situation into turn 1? Well, he has not been able to maintain speed with that group, and there is a fair bit of damage on board that car. Cable's got damage on the front end of that Mustang as well.
Yeah, well, remember Cable hit a sausage curb pretty hard and then had to spin. So I've already talked about, you hit those sausage curbs and you hit them front on, it bounces the car about 4 foot in the air and then it comes back down and smacks the ground. So the sausage curbs are not just slowdowns, they are car killers tonight.
Yeah, and the best way to handle them is actually to touch them with the tyres sometimes. Other times you want to flight it across the underside of the car. Some of the cars will handle that. Porsche Cup car, V8 Supercar, both very adept at handling those situations. GT3s, though, underbody downforce. They generally want to be quite close to the floor. Worthwhile discussing, as well as a part of that entire argument, that there is no floor damage in iRacing currently. So it is what it is.
I'll tell you what, this race, Adam Hughes is... he has got some pace right now. He got around Isaac Curtis a couple of laps ago. Look at him having a crack around Stefan. I think Stefan's just lifted and let him through there. It looks like Stefan just moved inside, lifted. He's allowed Adam to go around him. Adam's obviously using all the track and then some by the looks of that. That'd be a lap lost, wouldn't it, in Formula 1? Every now and then for Adam Hughes going way off the track there, outside track limits. But anyway, he's obviously learnt where he can and can't do that without getting the slowdowns on iRacing, and that's part of the skills. But yeah, Adam's on a flyer. So
for Hughes, we'll see if he can't go in pursuit. And I think the big thing for him as well is he's been a little bit back in the field, but he's just been a little bit patient. Bring the tyres in gently, and now will be his opportunity to go at the guys up ahead. I tell you what, Mackay got to the inside of Rattray White. He's had to elbow him wide. Rattray White's had to cut that next corner, and he will have a slowdown penalty, and now he has to yield to Dean Mackay. But that is worthwhile having another look again, because we just caught the tail end of that. I was keeping an eye on a few things, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye. Mackay's got speed tonight. He's driving quite well. This is a big old lunge, and he doesn't quite pull it up. They'll have a look at it from the steward's office, but it might be one of those perspectives of there might have just been enough room left, and the contact, well, Rattray White's going to turn in at some point, and that'll be his argument. But at the same time, there was a car width left to the edge of the track boundary. That is one of those ones that is a steward's judgment call. This will give us another angle. Late dive. He missed the apex by a fair margin, though. Yeah, I don't know. There might not have been a car's width at the apex there for him.
Oh, I'm not going to comment, Scotty. You know I can't comment, but look, hey, that was good racing. So yeah, we'll leave that in the hands of race control.
I know Ben Jeffrey and his team have been struggling a little bit to bring the Mercedes up to spec. They've been trying to build on it. Stuart Shaw was given a fair bit of room there at Coca-Cola Corner and ran off the track as a result. That might have encountered a slowdown penalty. If not, Ben Jeffrey's going to harass him. But Fuji is definitely one of those tracks that you can abuse the tyre, and the tyre can get away from you, and there goes Jeffrey down the inside. Shaw might cross him back over and get the power back down, but he'll be on the outside when they get down to the chicane at the other end of the racetrack.
Look out for Angus Lawford on the way on the entry there. I know Angus has lifted. He's made sure that he's not going to get in trouble. Still side by side. Clean roof every car. Looks like Ben's made that a clean pass, mate.
Yeah, now he'll look to set sail. So tyres are working quite well for Ben Jeffrey currently. And general kind of racing that you get at Fuji is everyone gets stacked up. Everyone, although, runs a little bit wide down through 15. This is where Lawford will get the opportunity to cross them back over at the straight, but that's where Waitan is going to try and shove the nose in out of the last corner. So too wide as they come off the final corner. Draft will be on driver's left. That'll be on the bottom of the race track from where we look in our vantage point. Everybody wants to be in the draft of the cars ahead of them. They are still even down the main straightaway, which says to me Waitan might have a fraction less wing on board at this point. Is his tyres going to hang on? Well, a little bit of a lift. Lawford thought actually second about it. Now it's going to open up the door to Owen Coleman, who was thinking about having a crack at the pair of them. Down the main
that was great driving from Angus Lawford. I think he knew that he was beat by the time he got to the braking zone there. So rather than go side by side and try and race and risk a crash, Lawford just lifted a little bit. Said, "Yeah, I'll lose one spot." Losing one spot is way better than losing 10 because you have a crash. I'll just lose one spot. I'll slot in here now, and then I'll have a look and see how you're going, or I'll just follow you up, and we'll see how we go next lap.
And car 1 and car 17 are going to have a look at the incident from a couple laps ago. So it will be under review. That'll be the big things. The stewards will try and keep half an eye on it.
No, now here's a question for you, Scotty. I've just realised Zach Rattray White, whilst driving, has requested a race control review by typing into the all teams chat whilst driving.
Skill.
How do you do that?
Wireless keyboard. The magic of having a wireless keyboard available to you.
Well, hang on, there's a slow car on the straight by the looks of it that this group of cars coming up to. It's a car going into pits. Oh yeah, no, it's only give them a little bit of draft to start with.
That'll be Rick Provenzale making his way into the pit lane at this point in time. He'll jump right out of the way of everyone. And everyone else will slot in as they possibly can. So, for now, group manages to sort itself out. Trent Allen's dragged his way up to the back of this group as well. You can just see them all flirting with the edge of track limits off the side there. So, again, this is the challenge of Fuji. The apexes aren't necessarily blind. As in, you can generally see them, but there's just a little bit of a crest on the road, a little bit of things that take away from your ability to perfectly spot some of the braking points. Down to the inside is Stuart Shaw. And I believe that was Wayton actually having a go at Shaw. Not quite able to get it done. But it's interesting, Trent Allen's just actually got the job done in behind those guys as well on Coleman. He dragged himself up to the back end of that group and got the job done on Coleman. Everyone's slotting. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Scotty, while I got a quick break, I just want to give a good shout out to obviously Dan Waytan. He's new to the series tonight, so welcome, Dan. Having a good run. He's mixing it up with the guys there in about sort of the 15, 16 area, so comes 14th at the moment. And also, a welcome to Harry Dodds, his first race in the Open Class PL after a bit of time out of the sim. So Harry's been away for a while, and yeah, so welcome back, Harry. It's good to have you guys in the race, and good to have you on the track tonight.
I believe a new team for Harry as well, which is good to see him out there and participating in. Largely, I mean, Harry has a crack at everything is the biggest benefit about Harry, but largely a supercars driver, hence driving the Mercedes. I think everyone that's a supercars fan loves the growl of the Mercedes far too much to be wanting to drive anything else.
Well, it's kind of, and look, you know, I drive the supercar as well, and the Mercedes, if it ain't the Porsche, right, and I think at this track the Porsche is a really, really difficult car to pick because of the nature of the track and the nature of the corners. I think the Mercedes are much better go-to, but don't tell anyone, Scotty, I'm going to say this. The Mustang's very similar to the Mercedes. V8 engine, rear engine, you sit back a little bit, so not too much different. You know, if you're not like a lifelong GM fan, you could probably drive the Mustang, but yeah, there's only one race.
Change of position a little bit deeper down the field. It's going to be One Performance Racing teammates. This is the 144 of Scordillis. And that is going to be teammate Stuart Ellis just lifting and allowing him to go through.
Yeah, that's for certain. That's a coordinated move there. Otherwise, you're fighting each other through turn, I think it's 13. And yeah, that's a difficult turn to fight people through.
And what we're hearing is there might be an update on the incident from a couple laps ago as well. 5-second time penalty for Dean Mackay. And that's where I was thinking is Mackay ran a fraction wide. I'm going to say it's a metre wide at the apex. I don't know, it'd be a couple metres wide at the apex, but the thing is he ran it deep and he ran Rattray wide off the track. I will say, I wish that it was a redress, is the only thing, because those two cars are still right next to each other on track. Redress it and go back about it. But again, Pete, you're better with the rule book than I am. Is a redress even an option?
It is. No, a redress is a 100% option right now. So just for everybody listening, if you have a little one-on-one incident like that with another car and there's no other cars involved, a redress can be put in play by race control, and you just swap the cars back around and say, righto boys, we've sorted out, just go back and race again, and then you don't have to do 5-second penalties after race or anything like that. I agree with you. In terms of if race control have deemed at fault for an issue there, then that's the primary cause for a redress, right? You really, when you're issuing a penalty from a race control perspective, I'm talking my own experience now, you're trying to issue the lowest penalty that redresses the infringement. And that's where a redress would fit right in this case, because no other cars have made it through. They're still racing P2 and P3. A swap would clean that up nicely. But anyway, look, it's a 5-second penalty. That puts the pressure on Dean to try and break away from Zach Rattray White now. Otherwise, 5 seconds. Call me out, Scotty, if there's something you're watching, but I'm just looking at the time things to say that 5 seconds would put Dean Mackay back down into effective P4 now, and that's more than a redress.
Yeah, they're right next to each other on track. There's less than a second between them. swapped them back through. There was no major harm, no major foul. I don't think there's any actual damage to either of those cars as well. Was the other factor I was sitting there and potentially considering might have adjudicated a 5-second time penalty. If there is, yeah. Anyway, enough debate about that one. Waitan actually put a move down the straight on Trent Allen. I believe Allen was actually having a go, and all that's allowed is he nearly got all the way up and alongside of Angus Lawford. In fact, he did at turn 1, but wasn't quite able to complete that pass. So he manages to hang on to one. Ethan Bass has now driven up to this group as well. Ethan's actually fresh off a win from the Nürburgring GP round of the Rikmatech series, which is multi-class racing during the day. And a bit of a moment now for sure. It's going to allow Bass and Coleman to sneak through. But yeah, Rikmatech is back on Monday. Was it might have been Tuesday, my apologies. Might have been Tuesday morning. Those guys, and that's Stuart Shaw. I think he's coming to pit lane for a fresh set of tyres. That is the half-an-hour marker as well. Up, so that is the right time.
Lap 19. So lap 20, 21 was what I thought would be the pit stops tonight. And maybe, and plus, like I said, Scotty, the third pit stop is a splash and dash. So that gives you a window really from about lap 15 to come in the pit. So Stuart Shaw's been held up. Good idea to get in there, do his pit stop a lap early, and then get out there and try and undercut the cars he's been held up by. But I'll also, Scotty, I'm going to come back to the redress thing too. And one of the things that might be in the mind, right? If you carry a 5-second penalty all the way through the end of the race, you have the option to do a protest for a 5-second penalty, right? So that option's there. If you redress the cars, that can't be protested because that's done in race, so it can't be protested at the end of the race. So there's a couple of streams of thoughts there about what is the best way to go. And I can see your point about redressing, but if race control say, yeah, she's on the border, hey, we're going to hold you accountable, we give you a 5-second penalty, you can then test it with the appeals judge if you want. But that's another thing that can come into consideration in terms of issuing a 5-second penalty instead of issuing a redress.
Big send down into turn number 1 from Shepherd's just past Isaac Curtis for 6th spot. So he will pick that one off. Okay. Well, yeah, valid. I know. Look, I don't think I'd rather it be protested, though. I'd rather it just be sorted on track. Just a personal opinion. And look, we're saying it's a toe. The problem I have is 5 seconds out of line is a slap, right? And to me, the incident is a little bit of door banging, and it's a fraction over the line. It's a toe over the line, and a 5 second sort of is a tangible penalty. Whereas a redress is okay. You didn't pass it cleanly. Go and have another crack. Ethan Bass couldn't keep the rear end of the Mustang underneath him after trying to slot down and underneath. I think what we're starting to see from a lot of these guys is rear tires are going off, and they're struggling, particularly with the Mustangs, to keep them compliant in the rear end.
Yeah, I had this in my pre-race notes, Scotty, and even though we're 2.5 pit stops tonight, we talk about this a lot. The GT3 set of tyres can really go 2 hours, right? You and I have done that in endurance racing, and many of these guys have done that in endurance racing in the past. But when you're at a track like Fuji and you have to pit 2.5 times, do you take 2 sets of tyres and just leave them on for the half time? There you go, around lap 20, just about to complete. Leaders come in, front 2, 3 come in, 3 or 4 cars come in. A couple of fuel savers are going around for another lap, though, 21.
Yeah,
I love those calculations.
Bang on board with what we're looking at, and I think Stuart Shaw is also going to be coming in as well after his moments of the last couple laps, just trying to shed those tyres with how uncompliant the Mustang's been. There's been a ton of cars thinking about that pit stop and a little bit of a wider window here tonight than we normally see, and the reason for that is getting past the half-an-hour mark. At least lends itself nicely to that. Sam Sutton at the moment 3 seconds behind Stephen McCartan. Has gotten his way through. That was a slow-moving car that was just in behind, so that's the margin. Currently first to second, but remember affected by pit stops right now. But there was another car in the middle of all that I just saw moving slowly, and that's that Ferrari there. I wonder if that's Cattle. We just saw dropping back.
There's only 2 Ferraris in the race, and Alex Cattle is a lap down. So that'd be right. That'd be close to one of the leaders there.
And he'd also be on potentially cold tyres as well,
Yes.
meaning that he'd be in a little bit of strife, trying to bring them up to temperature. So for now, has Stefan Carton gone another lap?
Yes, he has.
No, my apologies. He's coming to pit lane entering now. So he's just waiting to see whether he went the extra lap. No, he's coming into pit lane. So he immediately comes off the last corner and starts pulling towards the right-hand side of that track. But Sam Sutton, in the meantime, has gone an additional lap.
Yeah, let's go for lap 22. These guys have been saving fuel, Scotty.
Well, the thing will be, he's nearly in range to make it a 2-stop.
Ooh, no.
He's just short. He's just short. Short.
I think it's going to be a safety car short.
But he'll have a long window where a safety car will benefit him and will benefit nobody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be the biggest benefit. A lot of these guys as well, by the way, backing up from the weekend. Final round of, I believe, the Global Endurance Tour, which is a series of 24-hour races. Also in IMSA classes, meaning GTP, LMP2, and GT3. A lot of them competing overnight. I know Sutton and Lachlan Capel were on part of a 3-man team attempting that for orbit drop bear, so they're a little bit sleep deprived. But I'm fairly certain they will be keen to get to bed after this one. Other drivers that will be keen to chalk this one off and disappear for a little bit of hard-earned rest, although there might have been a nap earlier on this afternoon. Final round of the International Formula 4 FIA Challenge was overnight, and 2 of the Australian drivers participating in that were Damon Woods and Zach Rattray White. And Rattray White, in particular, his schedule over the last month has been hectic, including competing in GT3 racing on a Friday night, bit of Porsche Cup and Supercars qualifying on a Saturday night as a part of the Logitech V8 Pro series, and then into the Bathurst 1000 on the Sunday, combined with Formula 4 duties overnight between Saturday and Sunday as well. Very, very busy on the simulator. Zach Rattray White, one might say too busy, but then again, there are your Steve Smith types who need to hit 3,000 balls to feel like they're in a bit of form, and Zach does strike me as that kind of guy.
So we've got 3 wide going down into 10-10, Scotty. Here we go, another move. Oh, there we go. We've got a precedent set for that kind of move, Scotty.
Yeah, Ethan Bass was squeezed out around the long way, and Trent Allen hops the curb and spins off the nose, and that is heavily shunted into the barriers. Not too far from pit lane entry, and it doesn't look like it's too bad to warrant request of a tow. But that, again, is right on that window where there would be one car who could make a major benefit out of that. Sam Sutton is again going to pop back out at the tail end of that battle pack. Scored Willis moves his way to 9th as well.
So, Scotty, what you've just told me out of that whole lot before that incident was that the more time you spend on the simulator, the faster you go. Because you just rattled off probably 8 of the top 10 drivers who've been in the sim pretty much all weekend, or Pro Series through the weekend all weekend, doing lots of big races, and that is lots of time in the simulator. And these guys are up here in the open class going really well. So,
well, you say that, but for Trent Allen in that replay, the only thing that was going to help him there was motocross bike simulator, with the amount of curb he took. Check
probably
underneath the front of this car.
Probably didn't help. There was a couple other cars out of place there too, I think. So, quite a bit of air. There it is. The big jump. No control. You can steer it as much as a golf ball in the air when the front wheels are off the ground. And then, I don't think the orbit drop bear car had anything they could do about that once Trent had sort of, got the wheels up and then landed and just basically went straight.
Yeah. So for Trent Allen, be back into pit lane, and his recovery effort becomes again compromised. But actually, I tell you what, Trent Allen never actually went to pit lane as a part of that one. He stayed out.
No, well, Trent pitted on lap 18, so so he did pit 2 laps earlier than most of the cars. Most of the cars are pitted lap 20, a couple pitted lap 90. So Trent was an early pitter. I think if he might have accidentally used his fast repair, we don't know that, but so yeah, if he's used his fast repair, there's no good coming into the pits anyway. But if he hasn't really lost much space, then yeah, keep going. But yeah, if the pace is on, just go to your next pit stop or the earliest your next pit stop, come in, you set of tyres, fast repair, and go from there.
Well, Denzel Wei Tan, by the way, and the other thing I just noticed actually about Wei Tan was the Philippine flag registered for driver locale for him as well. So it'd be awesome if that was actually true to know that Denzel, racing with us from the Philippines. Would be phenomenal. And I tell you what, his ping actually does suggest that too. The other thing I'm just looking at is he's just been given 5-second time penalty for the incident with Ethan Bass, which triggered that contact with Trent Allen. Well, sorry, didn't trigger the contact with Trent Allen. It put Trent Allen out of sequence and looking for the ability to try and get off the line and get his way around Ethan Bass. And it was a little bit too wide.
That 5 seconds is the same as the D. Mackay Zachary White penalty. So, same corner, very similar incident, same outcome for the driver that's infringed there, 5 seconds. So, Scotty, we can't say they're nothing but fair, even if we think they might have been road dressers.
Righto. In the meantime, keeping an eye on the racing to this point as we approach, actually we've just crossed over the 1/3 marker of this race, and at the moment Woods has got it by a comfortable margin. Something's happened to Dean Mackay in the middle of that pit stops cycle. I wonder whether or not Mackay might not have, he might have taken fresh tyres and Rattray White has not. And the reason I say that is Rattray White made a big gain at the start into this stint because they went into the pit lane, line astern. Since then, Mackay has been taking chunks back out of Zach Rattray White. I reckon Rattray White has kept that same set of tyres on. He's looking to double stint those tyres, you know.
Okay, we'll see if we can find that out. But if you have a look at the pit stop time, so Rattray White's done a 23.6 and D. Mackay's done 24.2 pit stop time. So that would suggest to me that they're the same amount of fuel, and that's enough time to change the tyres. So we'll see if we can find out. Not sure that I can. No, I don't think I can find ZRW to have a chat to find that question, which is a little bit of a shame. But anyway, yeah, so I might try and drop in with D. Mackay and see if he did something different. I'll be back in a sec.
Well, as Pete's gone digging for a little bit of strategy juice, this is the teammate battle at the moment between Hughes, McCartan and Shepherd. And I think Hughes might have just gotten by McCartan on that previous lap, and Shepherd's actually made some pretty significant gain on the pair of them. Contact between cars 27 and 219, which was Ethan Bass and Trent Allen. There was nothing further done about that one, which you can understand. But yeah, nothing more touched on regarding that one.
Yeah, very quick chat, Scotty, with Dean. Dean did take fresh tyres, and he thinks, or even the team think, that neither Zach Rattray White nor Damon Woods took tyres on that stop. So maybe a bit of an early disadvantage for later advantage. Who knows? But yeah, so that's the thinking right now. Obviously, I can't get to Zach to confirm whether he has not taken tyres.
Well, for Dean, looking to try and chase down and recover that little bit of margin loss to Zach Rattray White. As the final round of SUDSPEED Premier Endurance League Open Series continues. 1/3 of the grand finale done and dusted. Worthwhile pointing out as well, and it's been a long championship to get here. 6 rounds. There'll be more coming from the start of next year as well. And on into 2026 as well. Porsche Cups, an update on that coming next week, as well as Adelaide. I guarantee we'll be seeing Adelaide on the calendar for this series, whether it will be the first half of the year or the back half of the year. Fairly certain everyone will be on that one for the first half of the year. Miami GP circuit from Formula One, though, Pete. That will be one that a lot of people will debate. And the other one that's actually an interesting addition, FIA cross cars. A little bit of rallycross in my future, I feel.
Well, yeah, a little bit of rallycross can be fun. It can teach you how to respond to a car that's out of control. So if you're good and you can apply those lessons to circuit racing. Miami Formula One GP, big, nice, open, wide street circuit, right? So kind of cool, right? We all, we kind of feel like we're limited in street circuits in iRacing. Long Beach and Belle Isle, and we're getting, Miami. I think Miami's going to be an absolute cracker because it's up to the latest FIA standards. Nice and wide. It's going to have same sort of width we got here at Fuji, but instead of having lots of grass verges, it's going to have concrete verges. So you've got to get it right, but it's got some real nice long spots to be able to make some overtakes and get some cars side by side. So looking forward to that track. I think every league that I know of is going to jump on Adelaide in the first available opportunity. And I know certainly for the V8 vets, it's like within 2 days of release, we're racing in Adelaide. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And you can't take a night off and not have practice, but I'll tell you what, everyone's going to be straight in there trying to learn how to drive that circuit. I've driven Adelaide on a number of other sims, and it's a wonderful thing to drive. It's so fast, through the staircase. You got to get it right. That turn 8, you can get it wrong, and you can bang a car up really badly. So to see how iRacing has applied all of that, you put one of these GT3 cars into that barrier at the end of turn 8. You're going to mess it up pretty badly. So yeah, looking forward to that to come. And whether the Premier Endurance League chooses to have them in the new session. I know one of the things that Premier are really, really good at is selecting tracks before the official series in iRacing race them. And one of the things that does is it makes people really think about the setups that they've got to do. It makes them work on the setups, because you can't just pluck a shop setup and run it when you got a track that iRacing hasn't gone to an official. So that's another challenge that comes along with Premier Endurance Racing, and the guys have been super good at picking those tracks. So yeah, expect to see Miami, expect to see Adelaide, I think early on in next year in Premier.
Just interestingly enough, actually, I just did hear Dean Mackay just jumped on the radio about multiple moves on the straight, but the thing for me is Mackay's still just over a second back from Rattray White. He's in his head. Rattray White's absolutely in Dean Mackay's head, and he hasn't even gotten back to him yet. So I think there's not going to be too much love lost between those two. It was about moving all over the straight. And look, to be fair, Rattray White was left, right, left down the straight. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration. Wasn't quite as bad as that down the straight. But at the same time, he's got a point. I think what he wants is it to be sorted and noted before he gets there, which is also another part of that's the other side of the psychological warfare, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been called into race control, so they're going to be having a look at the way I'm driving. And obviously what Zach's trying to do is he's trying to break the draft in terms of going down there. You're allowed to move into defensive mode, you're allowed to move through a corner, but you can't move twice. I might have to go and check the ability to break a draft rules, see if that's in this set of rules. Scotty, I've written many sets of rules, and they're all subtly different, but I'd have to go and check that. But yeah, Zach want to watch himself. You want to sort of, fair driving. did Scotty go? Did he die?
I'm talking into a muted microphone. That's why I'm having an issue. I muted my microphone up just to have a mouthful of coffee quickly, and forgot to flip it back down. What I was actually just saying was that none of you could hear me, by the way, was he's just called it in again, actually, the very next lap. Now, this time he is second back, so there is a whisper of draft hitting Dean Mackay from Zach Rattray White. But again, the thing that I'd say, Pete, is, okay, defensive move, awesome. But it's not a defensive move when you're 10 car lengths back from a guy on a straight. That's not defensive.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And if Zach wants to go down a straight in a ziggly way when he's 1 second ahead of a car, that's his opportunity to lose time, right? Because that's effectively what he's going to do. He's effectively making the straight longer by going side to side.
Quickly, I think this is the most recent lap. Yeah. So this is actually the end of lap 29 coming to lap 30. And again, look at the daylight between those cars. He says, I've paid for all of the track, I've paid for all of the tyre. I'm going to lengthen the distance of the lap by moving left and right. And again, 3 laps in a row, it's just been called in. And 2 in a row, it's just been mic'd up as no further action. And they're going to, well, I think race control, Dean Mackay might have to get the checkbook out, because I think he's going to be paying for race control for the rest of the night, to be checking this in just about every lap. So this is actually really an interesting juncture, and I'm going to give the opportunity for everyone. I want people's thoughts on this at home. This is one of those ones that you sort of put your own colour on, because to some people this is okay, to some people it's not. And for a lot of people in the middle, it is going to be a grey area that's sort of exploitable. Much in the same way that headlights are a communication tool that shouldn't be overused, and what that overuse amount is generally quite hard to define, but there is we all know exactly what is an excessive use of it and what isn't an excessive use of it. But to me, there's daylight between those cars, and once there's daylight between those cars, it's not a problem. But the other thing I will say, Pete, is that if this was real-world motorsports, this would be a team principal radioing through to race control. A driver would be talking to their team manager, and the team manager would then... Hang on, just got an update. Yeah, race controller it's fine. It's totally fine from this distance, and it's going to continue. But the point I was making at that just before that that got brought up was this would be a conversation from a driver to a team principal, and then a team principal to race control. The difference in sim racing is this is Dean Mackay saying, hey, and in a chat channel that Rattray White can monitor, he's doing this, can you have a look at it? Now, every party is aware of what's going on. That's not something that would happen in real-world motorsports.
Okay, Scotty, let me quote you the rule that I think Dean Mackay is trying to get race control to execute. So the rule is for overlapping on a straight, right? So when no overlap exists, which is the case with it now, between the leading car and the trailing car, the leading car may move off the racing line once to the extent track limits. Now, the question is, that applies...
Hang on. There's going to be an overtake at this point in time. Scordelis has just gone down the inside. I think that was Sam Sutton. Remember, Sutton's been on that aggressive fuel save strategy, but he's not going to be the only one. Curtis is now trying to line him up as well. So remember, Sutton's gone 2 laps longer than the bulk of the field, and Curtis just immediately to the inside, and we'll execute on that one. Right, that solves that. Back to Pete with more from the rules.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the rule is about when you're coming up to overlap for somebody when you're on a straight, is that the defending car in front can only move once off the racing line, right? And what Dean Mackay is saying is he's saying, well, he's moving off the racing line and then back on the racing line and then back off the racing line. So he's moving twice. But the difference is for Dean Mackay right now, given that he's a second or a second and a half behind, so what's Dean Mackay? Series 0.6 behind, yeah. Right? He's not actually overtaking. So he's not getting to the point where he's got a draft and he's coming up to actually get some overlap on the car. And that's where it changes it. And I think that's why race control is saying no further action.
My apologies, I'm going to have to take this one over from you, Pete. Scordelis, remember, got this move done, as did Isaac Curtis on that most recent lap. and Sam Sutton will go on through on them. And there was an update from race control in the middle of that I was just trying to keep half an ear out for as well. So Sutton lost both of these spots, has been fuel saving to get that marker. Now he's holding the pair of these guys up with that fuel saving. And at the same time, has managed to pick the pair of them back off in a straight line. And now there's going to be a little bit of contact. Scordelis makes contact with the rear bumper of Sutton as they come through the long, flowing 4 and 5. Down into 6. It was Speed carried off at turn 5. Scordelis was able to apply the throttle a lot earlier. Got a little bit too close and the front end shut off. Now he's at risk of being passed again by Isaac Curtis.
Yeah, this is watching Isaac Curtis just lifted a little bit early. He wasn't going to make it right there.
And Dean Mackay's had some sort of issue. He's gone around and that will solve the issues. We won't have to hear about that one for a while. It might be up and over the curb. And this might be a frazzled driver.
Yeah, there it is. He's hit those curves, Scotty. I talked about at the start of the race. You cannot touch those curves at turn 15. It does exactly that to the car. Throws it up in the air, out of control, and spins it around. And you cannot do a thing about it. And all of that is a little bit of understeer and maybe what you said, a little bit of frustration from calling something and getting no love from race control. But yeah, that's hurt Dean Mackay. Hasn't dropped him down. He's just lost some time. But yeah, he's now 4 seconds behind Zach White. He's got a bit of time to catch back up again.
Don't forget, he's got a 5-second penalty too. So that will actually, that time that he's now lost, at the moment he'd be sitting effective 4th place on the road. So the thing is, he would be behind Adam Hughes, but he's still got a lot of time up his sleeve. We're 55 minutes into this race, into the 56th minute. We're a couple away from hitting the halfway point. And yet again, Scordelis is going to have a go at Sam Sutton. Gets that job done. Opens the door for Isaac Curtis. Now, where does Curtis go? Because he's on the outside here and he didn't get a good drive off of the corner either. But we know that Sam Sutton was fuel saving aggressively. Sutton will cover to the inside. And right now, gets just that little bit closer to Scordelis. Don't forget, Scordelis is back to where he started after issues at the start of the race. He gridded in 7th spot, has just retaken 7th spot. Stuart Ellis is now tagged onto the back end of this group as well. Well, Dean Mackay mustn't have too much of an issue at the moment because he's just gone ahead and set some strong sector times immediately afterwards. 2nd fastest car on track. Again, you just see Sutton makes a ton of time on the straight and then just not interested in taking it anywhere. Just going to continue on his fuel-saving way. But the other big thing that's important as well in all of that, Pete, is that, again, if they keep battling, and they were battling a couple laps ago, that is taking time away from them.
Yeah, they're slowly dropping away from Dylan Shepherd and Stefan McCartan, this group. So, and that's what the battling is doing them. It's allowing Dylan and Stefan to have a little bit of a free run. Adam Hughes, I think Adam Hughes is in for a real fight here to try and stay within 5 seconds for Dean Mackay. But he's dropping off a little bit. But yeah, this three-way battle, exciting to watch. The guys are all, you know, they're having a fair crack at each other, and but they also looking after each other. Really, really good racing.
Yeah, Stuart Ellis was working him over the opportunity created by Isaac Curtis. Again, Sutton's just going, all right, okay, no point losing time here. But also just being a little bit circumspect with how deep into the corners he's going as well. And again, Ellis now makes a mistake. He bounces over the sausage curbs. This one will just continue for a few more laps. Blake next made a huge chunk of time in the middle sector on the whole group, which is very bad for the lot of them. Again, that little bit of battling just drags them back. And again, Sam Sutton just goes steaming past them in a straight line. And there is very, very little. Stuart Ellis, by the way, has the draft on the left-hand side of the road. Sutton has nothing. And he just continued accelerating away from the Mercedes, parks it up at the apex, job done.
Yeah, that was interesting speed. So Sam must have a lower wing, lower downforce for the straight, but that might be what's causing him to just be a little bit slower with less downforce around some of these tighter turns, and which is what given the other cars the ability to sort of get up to him in turns and actually attack him on the entry to the tighter turns.
But again, the Mercedes just cannot turn its way back down on him. But the big thing Sutton will not be happy about is they've lost touch to Isaac Curtis and Scordelis just ahead. He'll be confident the pace, even with a little bit of fuel saving to drag their way back to this next group of cars, which should be the priority for the next lap stop. Yeah, that's the thing. Get your way back into that sequence, then think about battling once more. See a puff of smoke. I did actually see some smoke about 10-15 minutes ago down the final sector. I think it was Brent Tucker that went around. I think it's Brent Tucker that's just gone around just recently as well.
Yeah, Brent Tucker, one of our drivers from the Limited Series, having a race tonight, fill out the grid, but trying to get in a little bit of sneaky practice before next week's Limited finale, Scotty. And I know he's not the only one who's doing that, but good on him for being in the race and seeing where he measures up against these open guys.
Again, Sutton's just been able to clear off and run away from Stuart Ellis just a little bit. Stuart Ellis has actually might have had a mistake because he's all of a sudden a lot closer to Brent Tucker. Oh, sorry, Blake Knack. My apologies. Blake Knack is in behind him, running him down for that last spot inside the top 10. So for now, battle on screen, Jeffrey versus Shaw. Ben Jeffrey and the Mercedes ahead currently. In the meantime, Wade's and Ethan Bass are just continuing their battle. I think that's... No, it's Dan Yeoman, my apologies. I was about to say it was Lachlan Capel who's driven his way back up to these guys. No, he's already cleared and got through. And remember, that's Ethan Bass with damage from contact with Trent Allen earlier on. He'll be keen for this second pit stop. We are now in range for that second pit stop.
Yeah, I think given most of the cars pitted on lap 20, Scotty, I'd expect lap 40. Potentially, maybe Sam Sutton can go to lap 44. That's a long way away from here now, and I don't think he's virgin on two stop. He's still going to need a stop, but I'll tell you what, one safety car and Sam Sutton's going to be one pit stop.
For everyone else, they will be within that range of pitting within the next 2 laps or so. So anything is certainly possible with the way this is playing back out. Damon Woods has now increased that margin out to 13 seconds over Rattray White for second. So he looks, again, very, very confident and under control and looks set to take out Season 2 of the Open Series. Brought to you by SUDSPEED. At this point in time, looking very, very comfortable. Speaking of actually international duties that we were talking about earlier on, he's got another duty tonight, does Damon Woods. IMSA Esports happens overnight, and he will be participating in that as well. This is that battle pack with Wei Tan, Ethan Bass and Dan Yeaman. Yeaman the second of the drop bear cars in this one. Ethan Bass can be identified currently by the shark bite out of the front right corner of that car. Whereas Yeaman still with a pretty clean, put together front end for now.
Yeah, Wei Tan's having a great race for his first race amongst this lot. I mean, these drivers drive hard, Scotty. You and I have watched this over the course of the year. This Open Series, they take no prisoners. These guys will drive, they'll door bang, and they want to beat each other, and they race hard. So Dan, welcome to racing with Open PEL guys. You're in for a really good race, and I'll tell you what, the drop bear guys are giving it to him, that's for sure.
Well, this will be interesting actually to see. You can just see Wei Tan might have just cooked those tyres on board the 67 Mustang a fraction, because now the rear end is significantly less compliant And that might be the advantage that Ethan Bass was looking for. Just watching as well whether or not Yeaman's actually able to make this move in the straight with a little bit of double draft. And the usual onboard footage provided by Dan Yeaman, not in operation tonight. I can tell you at this point in time, there'd be a jaw hanging half open. And I'll focus a little bit down the track. Probably a chat to Ethan Bass just ahead about what their plan for the next few laps is, but that Weitan 67 Mustang is starting to ail just a little bit on its tyres.
Yeah, that's 39 laps complete, Scotty. So I think all the teams will be talking about when they're going to do their pit stop. You know, they're going to come in together and stay together, be able to draft together. You know, this race here with Ethan Bath and Dame Yeaman, they're not going to hold each other up. They're going to make sure they work together to try and get back up to Angus Lawford and try and sort of breach that 6-second gap that they got there and try and get in that fight and make another position.
That's Harry Dodds. You can see the sun is firmly set behind Harry at this point in time. It's a lot brighter. What, 20 minutes to go? I just heard a pit lane alarm going off as well. I think Martin Hallinan has just come to pit lane for his second stop. That'll be the first one to come in. A couple little groups, again, still sticking together. Bulk of the field sort of still strung out. It's this group from 6th back to 11th now. I think Stephen McCartan's actually all of a sudden dropped a ton of pace. I do wonder whether or not he probably didn't take tyres at that first pit stop. And now he's in a little bit of trouble with how hard he fired off.
Yeah, well, if he's losing time, I mean, he's well within the time to go and get another pit stop. He did go an extra lap in the early pit stop, and yeah, if he hasn't taken tyres, he's raced for that that 1 hour mark, that magic 1 hour marker, or a bit over now, 1 hour and 10 marker nearly with GT3. You and I both know that's very well achievable. That's what you do in the officials anyway. So the tyres are good for it, but they can slow down a little bit if you overheat them and push them too hard. And this is one of those tracks where you can, because you're pushing through some of these really long-winded corners and easy to get on the throttle a little bit too early, or easy just to go into a corner a little bit too fast, overheat those tyres. So maybe Stefan's done that. He's done a mega job in the Ferrari. Just Dylan Shepherd's in front of him in the Aston at the moment, but between Dylan Shepherd and Stefan McCartan, the two non-Mustangs in the top 10 there. Stuart Ellis just hanging in top 10 with the Mercedes, but everybody else is in a Ford Mustang. So good on those lads. I'd like to see how the car in there challenge it and mixing it up for everyone.
Yeah, well, I can tell you Andrew Scordillis has just come to pit lane, so he'll be the next of the drivers to pit. Mackay also in. So Hughes is in. Fair chunk of the field in this lap. Second round of pit stops, and I think there, is a couple of fuel-saving drivers at the moment. And that'll be, we'll wait for Sutton, McCartan. They're sort of the guys to keep half an eye on. I believe Isaac Curtis will be in at the end of this lap. I expect Damon Woods and Zach Rattray White in alongside of him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Steph McCartan and Sam Sutton. They're the two guys that really have been fuel saving. So keep an eye on them, Scotty. They're the ones that are going to tell us how far they go. Because if Sutton goes 22 laps again, he's still got another 3 laps before he comes in. He'll be the last of the pitters.
Well, it just depends if he looks to go that long again. He might just go the 1 lap extra, which means he would match Stephen McCartan for stint length. The thing about that opening stint is, with all the battling that goes on, you can save a significant chunk of fuel. And it's the next stints that become harder as the field starts to stretch itself out. And remember, the amount of time Sam Sutton's lost with the battling that's been in that pack, I cannot tell you how important that time loss will actually be. Woods is in, Rattray White is in, more smoke at the final corner will be Weitan. And that will be cold tyres on board his Mustang. Isaac Curtis will be in this lap as well. He will make another pit stop. A little bit down the field, Kurt Chapman and this group, expecting them in at the end of this lap. So for now, Damon Woods will rejoin from pit lane. 51 minutes on the clock. And it will be 2:26 minutes stints to home, although don't expect that. That'll probably be a splash and dash. The back end, they'll like to run the fuel in these cars as far down as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think, Scotty, for most of them, it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes worth of fuel. So we're talking sort of 8 to 10 laps worth of fuel. And that's at sort of 20, 30 litres. So I was just trying to work out in my mind, like Sam Sutton's been saving 2 laps worth of fuel each. So let's say he goes to 44 again. So he's got 4 laps of fuel up his sleeve at 2.5 litres of fuel usage. That's really only 10 litres of fuel. That's effectively probably only 2 seconds of pit stop. Is it really worth it, saving fuel?
Potentially. The problem will be is the track position you lose as a result. That's sort of what we're assessing. Right, McCartan is in. Sutton has gone at least 1 lap longer. Something's just happened to Adam Hughes. And there is no spark on board that car. Safety car's been deployed.
Oh, Scotty, there it is.
Perfectly in the window.
Oh, everybody's got to come back in and fuel up, top up, yeah? Surely.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Surely. So even if you pitted 2 laps ago, and while the field's spread before a safety car, you've got to cycle in and fill up. With 49 minutes to go, surely. Tell me, Scotty, tell me people aren't going to stay out there. Because all that's going to just cost them time.
Anyone that's just pit will not come back in the pit lane. I'm very curious as to what happened with Adam Hughes. Because the space he's ended up in...
Come in, tipped it in for... Oh, he's just lost the back end.
That'll be cold tyres, just no compliance in the rear end of the Mustang. And that impact with the tyre barriers was right on the right rear.
Yep.
Which has certainly caused him a whole bunch of drama. Yeah, I can tell you he's about somewhere about 70 to 80 degrees right hand down with that contact. So it is disastrous to try and drive in a straight line. This is an interesting one as well, because I think that is Matt Webber coming in just ahead of our race leader.
Oh!
Nearly collapsed him on the pit lane entry.
Well, that's proof Sam Sutton has practiced pit lane entry and Matt Webber hasn't. Oh, mate. Yeah. Well, maybe he has, but not to the same extent. But I'll tell you what, that was a significant advantage, but nearly a big crash too.
Damon Woods will reassume the race lead. He will not come back in for a top up. I'm just waiting for a little bit of procedural update. You know who this actually massively disadvantages is anyone that's been issued with the penalty. Denzel Waitan is one of those, although he just had a moment, so he won't be massively impacted. Dean Mackay is another. And I'm just having a quick look. So drivers with a penalty at this point in time. Denzel Waitan, Dean Mackay, Tyson Broad, Brad Coates, Tyson Broad, Dylan Shepherd. And Sam Sutton's rejoined in 4th position with probably the best fuel numbers of the lot. Just hearing a little bit of procedural.
There we go. Yeah, no, it's car 90 has taken a self-waiver out, so race control are going to sort that out. But we might see car 90 just drop back in behind the safety car and have to wait. But let's try and work that out right now. But anyway, Scotty, Damon didn't take fuel. I think that's fine for Damon. He's already shown tonight he's got the speed to pull away. We know every car's still got to do another pit stop yet. So, and that pit stop is going to be it's going to be a splash and dash. It's certainly not going to be tyres. 45 minutes on set tyres is fine, right? So we know the splash and dashes to come. I think Damon's got, even though he's got 2 laps more fuel usage right now than the rest, I think Damon's going to have the speed to pull away from Zach and Dean cover that little gap that he's got. Zach Ratway-White, Dean Mackay, they didn't pit either, so Sam Sutton did. So Sam Sutton's come out effectively P4 with the pit stop. He's in a really, really good position. So if Sam's got the ability to run with Dean and Zach, with Dean carrying that time, I think Sam could almost jump up into P2 once he gets his pit stop and he saves that little bit of time he has from the fuel saving. After I just said, is it worth fuel saving? Yeah. So did you call that safety car, Scotty? Once I said, is it worth fuel saving?
No. The problem is this isn't actually going to benefit Sam. All it's going to do is there's still a splash and dash required from here. There is no way you get home from here. Sam Sutton, the longest he's gone is about 38 minutes, I think, on fuel.
Oh, he still has to splash and dash, no doubt, but he's got 4 laps less fuel that he has to put in. So he's got about 8 to 10, let's say 10 litres less fuel to put in, which is maybe 2.5 seconds in the fuel stop. So if he can stay with Dean Mackay and Zach Ratway-White, obviously the penalty that Dean's carrying is going to put him behind, but if he can stay within that 2 seconds of Zach, he can jump him in the pit stop when they do that splash and dash. But he's got to stay right close with Zach Ratway-White to do that. Stephen McCartan, he's pretty much in the same boat as Sam. He's only 1 lap difference, so a little bit of change. Everybody else pretty much pitted. Blake Neck pitted lap 43, so that was on the safety car. So he's another one. Blake's had a really good run, actually, up 9 positions from where he started, with a fuel tank now that's full, and he's good to the end of the race. So Blake Neck is looking like he's having a pretty spectacular race in amongst this lot, Scott, in the Chevy.
Mm. So we've lost, just a heads up, we're just going to run through the list of drivers that we've actually lost is Leith McClimate, Tyson Broad, Rick Provenzali, Bobby Camo, and Owen Coleman. I don't know what happened to Owen Coleman. All I have is that he just stops. So I wonder whether or not he came close to that first pit stop, something happened, and he's ejected for the day. So I'll go and have a look quickly and see if I can find what happened.
Yeah, he's certainly ejected from Discord too. So so whatever happened, Owen has bailed and pulled the pin in. Yeah, who knows, Scotty? It might be a family issue or something like that. You just never know. Sometimes these things do happen to us sim racers.
Yeah, Owen actually came to pit lane and then exited from pit lane. So whatever's happened external to the sim, I can tell you that much. So 4 cars, I believe actually might be 5 cars, my apologies. Yeah, I think it might actually be 5 cars. Matt Webber, Brent Tucker, Matt Allen, Trent Allen and Terry Marsh will all grab 1 lap back and move their way back to the lead lap.
All right, so remember, Scotty, as soon as the safety car is called to pit lane, all the weaving and tyre weaving needs to stop, which is right about now. Safety car's just been released, so all the cars need to stop weaving, need to stop braking, just get into line of stern, get ready for the restart. Those 5 cars that have done the given the wave round, they don't get to catch the train, Scotty. The race gets started, so they just get cleansed out of the train and out of the way of the leader, and we get racing again. But for them, the race is already on, right? They're going.
You know, I think Brooke Caddo might have been caught out by those rules. Was already just a report of that immediately. So, regardless, the safety car is the Aston Martin GT4 and it's doing its very best to pull away. But the problem is he can't carry a lot of speed on stone cold tyres in the run through the final sector for the safety car, as it will enter pit lane. SUDSPEED safety car, first and only of the night thus far.
And potentially, mate, the safety car's on wet tyres because you don't want to have to change it if it does rain, right? So cold, wet tyres on a dry, slick track.
Well, field is going to start fanning out as everyone's trying to wait and see when that leader's going to jump. Damon Woods will get control as the field looks set to restart. SUDSPEED Premier Endurance League Open final round from Fuji's back underway. And we are set for that restart. Sam Sutton on that fuel safe strategy. Can he make any advantage? He's going to move all the way to the inside of the racetrack and try and get some moving done. Have a look at the cars weaving in the background. Everyone's searching for a little bit of tyre temperature. McCartan's gone the long way around. Looks like he's got the Ferrari tyres up to temperature just a little bit better than everyone else for now. So he will grab a spot.
That was a cracking start from Stephen McCartan. He kept an eye on the leader with a little bit of offset, and he was just picked that spot on, Scotty. And with a little bit of extra tyre warming on that Ferrari, maybe it's had a little setup. So remember all the others, the Mustang. So is that Blake Neck?
Blake Neck and the Chevy is just going around. He's lost the rear end of it. I was keeping an eye on where Sutton was. Shepherd at this point in time is trying to have a crack at him. I think the whole field is trying to have a crack at somebody at this point in time. Best opportunity for it. Angus Lawford and Stuart Shaw going at each other. And on the run down to the hairpin, I think there's two of the OPR cars as well. Yeah, Scordilla's just sliced down the inside of Stuart Ellis. I think we'll pick up a spot as well. Front three have stuck it together. Remember, Dean Mackay has a 5-second time penalty. He did not want to see that safety car because that is a lot of work that he now has to do with 40 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and Scotty, looks like Brock Cattle's had a spin. I can't tell you whether it's a contact or not, but it looks like a spin in turn 14 in that last set of corners. So he's now dropped back.
And we'll get an issue for Blake Neck. So this is down through that long sweeper between turn 4 and turn 5, all the way back around to the right. Have a look at how close to the ground that front end of that Corvette was, with how loaded it was at the front of that car, and the rear end just lets go on relatively cold tyres.
And a little bit off the apex too, Scotty, so maybe a little bit of marble interaction as well.
Yeah, peak grip would have been about a wheel track to his right when that car let go. And for now,
Alex Cattle with a drive-through penalty. That was for that incident you were talking about. This race control were trying to pull a car that took their own wave around, took his own initiative, and got in front of the safety car before he was being pulled to. So failure to follow safety car procedures, immediate drive-through penalty. That is a straightforward lay-down was there for race control.
Yeah, the issue he had was he was doing his very best to try and keep himself on the lead lap and keep himself in contention. And he will stay on the lead. There's another car around in the barriers. It's Trent Allen for the second time tonight. And remember, he didn't burn that fast repair earlier on, although I wonder if he might have burned it since then. Just trying to bring that car back to peak condition, and that will be Trent Allen with that damage for the remainder of the night. So there's not much more he can do. Something's gone wrong for him on the second lap after the restart. In the meantime, Damon Woods resumes business as usual, and Trent Allen a long way from the racing circuit.
Looking at the replay, it looks like Trent's just got up on the curbs, and that's just upset the car, and it's thrown the back end around. So really tough night for Trent. We're used to seeing up in the top 5 and racing really quickly. So I guess it proves that every one of these aliens can have a tough night as well, Scotty.
Yeah, for Ethan Bass, he's looking to try and move his way through the field. And Angus Lawford was the guy he was trying to get some gain on at that point in time. Still with a little bit of damage on the front left corner. Dan Yeaman to this point up to 14th spot. Continues his battle with Denzel Waitan. He just slides down the inside. So Yeaman will move back to 15th spot. Yeah, started from the rear of the field. He's up to 15th.
I'll give Denzel Waitan a little bit of a warning. Dan Yeaman won't give up, mate. So enjoy the fight and enjoy the race. But Dan's there to stay.
You can just see how much room there is to work this track in the back half of it. And there is a cleaner section of the racetrack where you want to place the car nice and cleanly. But that groove is quite wide at Fuji. Look at all the real estate they'll use in the final corner as well. For Dean Mackay is that much closer to Zach Rattray-White than he has been for a good while. And I don't know if you notice there, Pete, but that is a Zach Rattray-White that is not moving left to right down the straightaway. Something's changed about the driving of the 17 car.
No, well, the difference for Zach Rattray-White is he knows now that Dean Mackay is right in the draft. So once you're in the draft, the car behind you can actually come right up close and get into that overtaking position I was talking to, and that's when that overlap and moving rule comes into effect. What Dean was saying before was you can't weave around like that and break the toe. What you can, you're not, you're not defending in that case. You're just making the straight a little bit longer and you're trying to break the toe. There's no issues about breaking a toe in this rule set. So what Zach Ratway White knows now is Dean Mackay's a hell of a lot closer. He is right there. So he can't move now, because if Dean does get a little bit of a draft and he gets up real close, Zach knows he's got one move and one move only. So I think he's saving that, and he's driving straight down now that Dean's so close.
But the other thing is, it's a change of mindset, a change of approach as well. Sometimes that's good enough to just shock him. But a safety car as well allows guys to just cool off. Remember that all of that issues were about half an hour ago now. That's, put it in the rearview mirror. Both of these guys have got an opportunity to settle back about their business and go again. Fresher tyres for the both of them too means that Mackay's tyres are not overcooking. At this point in time means he's got a little bit more back and underneath him. I just wonder how short this splash and dash from Sam Sutton's going to be, because the best thing he can possibly do is press up and stay with the couple cars ahead of him. This is a little bit further down. Scordillas gets to the inside of Isaac Curtis, and Curtis looks like he's struggling a fraction for straight line speed on that car. Just yields before they get to turn number one. Scordillas will slice down the inside.
Oh, absolute three-way battle between Dean Waitan and Dan Yeaman, Angus Lawford there coming into turn one. That was fabulous. Oh, I'll tell you what, Denzel Waitan, welcome to Premier Endurance. We've already said it, mate, but I'll tell you what, he's having a cracker of a race tonight. He is right in the mix. He's got some really good names, some names that we really appreciated driving, and some really well-skilled drivers. But they're being fair to each other. There was a moment where Dan Yeaman could have just given him a little tap and turned him around, but Dan lifted off the brakes and stepped back a bit, and Daniel got away with it. So, or Denzel got away with it. So, yeah, bloody close.
Jeffrey right now, because I was just looking at Ben Jeffrey and thinking he's going to make a move, but he tried to dive out from underneath the rear wing of Angus Lawford at the wrong time. That means he's going to lose another spot back to Yeaman. Yeaman will slice it down the inside, coming off the back straight away. Slow chicane out the other side. That Mercedes seems like it's really, really good in short, sharp turns, but it's these longer ones. It just doesn't like it. It doesn't want to come back at the corner, the double apex. It does not like the second apex corners, and that's where Jeffrey's really struggling, is to get that nose back in. Now we'll get down now straight. Sutton. Sam Sutton's a significant amount closer to Little Shepherd right here. And have a look at how quickly he's approaching him. Gets to the inside. Significantly alongside, clears at turn one. There was absolutely nothing between them. I thought for half a moment they were going to touch at the apex. Yeaman will also grab a spot in the background as well. He will pick off Angus Lawford, move himself back to 14th spot. 16 spots gained now for car 85. I don't think Sam Sutton's done. I think he's hungry for a few more. And the issues we saw on that opening lap of the safety car, I think might have been tyre temperature related. You might have been right. Colder tyres put on, not enough time to get them up to temperature, means they haven't stayed to temperature.
Yeah, but Scotty, 32 minutes to go. We're right on that threshold now where a pit stop can get you to the end of the race. So here's a question for you. If you feel like you're being held up now, do you do your splash and dash early, get a bit of free track time and go? You know the draft's really good. The draft is effective down here at Fuji, right? Absolutely number one. But fighting with cars, and we've got a gaggle of cars from 4th to 17th, 4th to 18th that are really close together, fighting with cars can cause trouble. And Ben Jeffrey, as you can see in the background there, Ben Jeffrey's just got spun around, a couple of other cars caught up there. That's the kind of trouble that I'm like saying, do you want to get out of, get your early pit stop done and just have clean air to the end of the race?
And Adam Hughes, he's rejoining. The trigger for that safety car has managed to grab the fresh car and get back out there. This continues to be Denzel Waitan, who is amongst the thick of it at the moment. Stu Shaw's going to try and go the long way around. Mustang versus Mustang. Yeaman ranges up on them in the background. He'll be keen for 2 more spots as well. Waitan sent it in quite deep at turn 1. And Shaw made to arc back in. And this will be how Adam Hughes lost the rear end of his car. And the problem for him is that he is actually a lapped car in this instance, which means that's a... yeah, look, I'm not going to touch it. Blake Neck is going to be the first of the drivers to jump in for their final pit stop. Look at that. Just under 9 seconds was the amount of fuel he needed to add.
There you go. And look, and Blake's got nothing to lose now, so he's done exactly what I suggested, right? If you're there, pit now, get yourself free track. Free track is speed, right? And yes, you lose the draft, but you've got no problems in the corners. You can now just go at best pace until everybody else pits. So he's got 10 to 15 laps of best pace. Head down, undercut, undercut, undercut. Go, 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 Blake.
Interesting, just keep an eye, have a look at these two cars trying to track down Sam Sutton. Our favourite game has recommenced. Oh no, Stuart Shaw around in car 93. He's had an issue. Just watching our favourite game of chicken down the start-finish straight has commenced once more between Mackay and Rattray White. He missed it that time by, but I can tell you there was movements left and right. Well, he's going to call it in again, and it's going to get reviewed again. And I don't think he's going to be any more likely to have anything else looked at. Well, the stewards, with a fair bit of time on their hands at this point in time, they haven't actually had anything to do for a fair while, must be said.
No, they'll probably be looking at the Adam Hughes incident. So that's one thing they'll probably have on their mind right now whilst they get that call. But yeah, I think it's a friendless call. If anything, it's only a call to get into the psyche of Zach Rattray White, because he knows he's called it 4 times for the same thing, and there's been no further action. So the only thing he can be doing is working on the psyche of Zach Rattray White. I'll tell you what, as a Pro Series driver, I don't think Zach's going to fall for it.
Well, the other thing I was going to say from Mackay's perspective is all of a sudden does he start to lose a little bit? The stewards might tell him, hey, starting to get a little bit fruitless with what you're calling in, and that's the moment again. Curbing in that final couple of corners, the issue for sure. Does he then get the stewards offside? I like to think of it as...
There's no rule, Scotty, for calling in too many incidents.
No, you're right. You're right. I tell you what, Dean Mackay's going to solve the issue for himself. He's just going to pit. That will solve that issue entirely. And the other thing is, I was just going to say, is it like excessive appealing in cricket? I'll make a few more cricket references for the rest of the for the rest of the evening.
Well, you should be able to make 8, right? 8 references. That's how many wickets we won by. So, I'm just thinking if you make 8, then the English will go, okay, yeah, no, that's enough. That's fair. But I think what we're seeing is Dean Mackay, like on the leaderboard, he's dropping down, right? But he's now pitting to the end. He's going to have clear track. He's going to be well and truly ahead of Blake Neck, because Blake will have that spin.
Blake Neck only added about 9 seconds worth of fuel. Have a look at the amount that Dean Mackay's just added. It's 3 seconds longer that he's stationary for.
Yeah, remember, Blake Neck came in on the safety car. Dean Mackay had come in 2 laps before the safety car. So that's the difference that we're going to see when Sam Sutton comes in from the leaders, is that same 3 second difference.
It'll be very, very interesting as well for Sam Sutton, because now he's ranging up behind Stephen McCartan. Well, McCartan pit 1 lap earlier than he did. It was that lap prior to the safety car that he come in from McCartan. And then you've got this next little cue. Lachlan Capel, remember, was deep. He had that big spin very, very early on in the race, back about the 10-minute mark, and he's been on the recovery effort, driving his way back through. Isaac Curtis has had a strong car all night. I don't necessarily know he's been able to do a lot of overtaking, but he's been there and he's been pressuring people. I think that's the big key for him. This will be a big statement heading to next week's limited series finale. Have a look at Lachlan Capel's just going to breeze on by the Aston Martin before he gets to turn 1. Shepherd will lose that spot.
But again, good, fair and understanding driving. Guy's got the draft, he goes inside. I'll just slot in behind him. That spot was lost when we come out of the corner. Yeah, let's fight him back. And if I can come out of the last corner faster on this lap, then I can draft you back. But no, Dylan Shepherd's having a crack, Scotty.
That's not a hole. That's not a hole. And now they're going to make more contact before they get down to turn 6. And they'll both brush and bang pedals, and it's right around the wheels. The critical one was it was next to Capel's right rear. We saw the issues Adam Hughes had with contact to that section of the race car earlier on. Shepherd is continuing to just try and make himself a nuisance in the rearview mirror of Lachlan Capel right now. And he knows that he's got more downforce on car number 143. Which is why he tried it in the highest downforce section of the racetrack. Scott Ellis has had a huge moment just ahead of them. They're both going to go skating through. Here comes Shepherd. He'll go for the big lunge down at turn 15. Gets the job done. Capel's going to go the long way around. Carrying speed out the other side. And these two, in this series, have clashed on a number of occasions. It's gone both ways. Shepherd runs him out of road at the final corner. And it is on.
It is on. It's going to be side by side. I think Lockie... Oh, no, Lockie Capel, he's lifted.
He'll have a slowdown penalty. He has a slowdown penalty. The problem is he was moved outside of track limits. And if you go beyond the sausage curbs at the final turn, there is a slowdown penalty. That's why he's been forced to give up the time. That is not a redress by any stretch of the imagination. He has to do something about that. Stuart Shaw's on his lid.
Oh, this has to be a safety car, Scotty. This has to be a safety car. Without a doubt. 25. Look, we have 25 minutes to go. We talked about
it's been
being
called
really close.
Huge battle pack. All 4 of these guys. Who saved more gas than the others? Capel was the most recent pit lane. Can Sam Sutton make it to the end of the race on fuel? He was tight. He was close. He would have been within about 5 minutes of making it to the end. Will a safety car chop enough time out of the race and cut the lap count that he can get home? If so, he will lead this race. I reckon he'll have a crack.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he knows he's got to have a pit. I don't think he's going to make it, even with the safety car. I'm going to say he's going to come in, but he has a 3 to 4 second fuel advantage by coming in straight behind the guys, and he might jump into the pit stop.
And, well, I've been waiting to use this bit of terminology. I've been watching a few New Zealand sim racing broadcasts of late, and my favourite videos have been the lid skid. It's not a lid skid. That's more of a lid trampoline. Up and over. Well, the difficulty rating on the jump was high, and Stuart Shaw not able to complete the landing. Not a lid skid, but a lid bounce, a lid flip.
Right, Scotty, everybody's in pit, including Sam Sutton. Everybody so far has come in the pit lane. Nobody has gone past it. I think the only people that go past it right now is Dean Mackay and Blake Neck. So expect them to come flying past, and this is a chat. This is a time
Dylan Shepherd speeding in pit lane. Dylan Shepherd speeding in pit lane. He will query it, though, because there was a fair bit of contact into his rear bumper at the line. But what was his speed? It's a 60-kilometre-an-hour speed limit. I tell you what, he was doing 68 at the line. And you know what? There actually wasn't contact to the rear bumper of Dylan Shepherd. He overslowed. So what happened for Shepherd was he overslowed at the line, and then he sped back up again, but he overdid it. He was doing 80. He was doing 79, 80 Ks in pit lane. So that is a definite pit lane speeding infringement.
And Scotty, as I talk, Dean Mackay straight through. First car to go straight through without coming to the pits. He came out and he was just flat out down the straight. The blue line for the pits is right down near the turn 1 turn. So Dean Mackay's absolutely flat out. Stephen McCartan and Lockie Capel, I don't know, Stephen McCartan and Sam Sutton had come out of the pits. They're both picking up speed to the blue line. And I think what's happened is Sam Sutton's made it. I think Dean Mackay's just got in front of the blue line, and Steph McCartan has got behind him. I think that, but they've referred it to racing hole for a check. But yeah, if you go back and have a look at it, it's an absolute classic case of that's where you're racing to when you're under that first lap of safety car. Really good explanation for anybody.
Live shots coming from the rest of the world, as you see regularly. Australian viewers would be. Anytime you'd be racing with someone, my American buddies give me a fair bit of stick about this all the time. What's it like racing from upside down? Well, I think this is Stuart Shaw's way of rewriting his position in the world. That's what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, to be racing from an Australian sim inside the Northern Hemisphere.
Absolutely. And Sam's got a big black spot there that maybe he can be advertising for a sponsor next time he flips a car. I've got a brother who does that. Oh, there you go. See, there's the line. Yeah, exactly what I said. So Dean Mackay, he's at top speed, Dean Mackay. Stephen McCartan's still accelerating. That speed has made the difference. So that puts Dean Mackay in between the drop bear car and Stefan there. And rightfully, that's the lineup. So awesome.
Dylan Shepherd, after speeding on pit lane of his own volition, goes all the way back to 21st spot. That has been the penalty that he's received as a result of that one. There was additionally a query for car 42 for pit exit. This is 2x2, and this is Blake Neck in the Chevrolet. Now remember,
we raced to the blue line. Yep.
Is all the way down closer to turn 1, but we get a lovely set of lines down here and a box that makes it really, really easy for race control to make these differentiations.
And Blake Neck's an absolute winner out of this safety car, Scotty, because he, after having that spin and being at that early pit stop, Blake Neck has got himself back up to P10. 1, 2, 3. What a classic case. See, race to the blue line, Scotty. That's what I say. Race to the blue line.
Righto. Well, it's going to be a 20-minute duel. Well, it's going to be under that. By the time we go green flag racing, it's going to be about 16. Safety car at the end of this lap. Drivers getting back to 1 lap down is actually Adam Hughes. And I think Stuart Shaw, I don't know if he has gone 2 laps down. My apologies. With the only car 2 laps down. Hughes will be hoping that there will be one more safety car. If he does, he gets back to the lead lap, gets every opportunity to keep himself in contention. There'll be no more fuel saving to the end of this race. That much you can be sure. Final 20 minutes of the season. It all comes down to this. A trip to the Japanese mountains. And Stuart Shaw found one of the smallest mountains on the track, but he turned it from a molehill into a mountain.
Yeah, so Scotty, while we got the chance, Sam Sutton 6.7 second pit stop, so he was the shortest in terms of fuel. Dean Mackay, for example, just before the safety car, 12 seconds. Steph McCartan, 8.1. Lockie Capel, 8.5. Dan Yeaman, 7.9. So they were all the guys who had fuel saved a little bit. But Damon Woods and Zach Ratray-White are out there, both 10 seconds. So Sam Sutton got himself a 3 to 4 second.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is, you know what, I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a moment out of that. The SUDSPEED safety car. The tyre is not gripping the racetrack, but the best way you can grip your steering wheel to prevent moments like that is with a pair of SUDSPEED gloves. Getting a few moments out of the final SUDSPEED safety car of the season for this championship. It has a moment. Don't let yourself have a moment where you can't grip onto the steering wheel. SUDSPEED gloves. Well, I think we made the most out of the segue out of that one. Yes, replays of the safety car. Thank you, SUDSPEED. I do hope that this gets clipped and sent to Richard Mayer and Chris Ruddle. Scott Bartane's the safety car driver there tonight. I hope he's in contact. I hope there's not a few holes in his gloves, because he might be in the region for a pair of new ones after that old wild ride. Ladies and gentlemen, SUDSPEED Premier Endurance League Open Series for the final time, potentially. Safety car restarts. 5 rounds in the book. 2 hours worth of racing. Boils down to this. Sam Sutton does not get a good launch after the safety car restart. Something's happened a little bit deeper in the field because there's a little bit of complaining on the radio at this point in time as well. Now it's going to be Damon Woods trying to cover from his teammate on the run at turn number 1. Ratray-White's not going to look for any sort of a dive, but have a look at who's going around the outside of turn 1 once again. It's Stefan McCartan. Again, the Ferrari fires it up and fires it up nice and early. The field will launch away from turn 1 and turn 2. As they try and get themselves in. Something happened to Kurt Chapman, and I think Ethan Bass was the other driver in the safety car restart that will get every opportunity. I can see damage to the rear of Harry Dodds' car as well, as they took a look back through the field. Something's happened to Cat Eye. He's off the road by a significant margin. Everyone is scattering as we went back to green flag racing right now. Stuart Ellis lost spots as a result of all the safety cars. He's trying to pick them up. Around goes Angus Lawford, who's had a reasonable night. He will lock the car down and manage to keep it out of the way of everyone as he waits for the field to whip on by. And finally, we get a moment where everyone seems to have settled themselves.
Scotty, what a wonderful restart. Dean Mackay, in every other restart so far, he's held the pack right up until the finish line here at Fuji. But on this one, he got going quite early. And I think that caught some by surprise, particularly Sam Sutton. I think Sam Sutton was a little bit caught out by it. Dean Mackay was absolutely on top of it. And Damon Woods has just got him at the restart there, just by going a little bit early.
This is with Denzel Waitan, and I think that's Matt Webber who's made contact, which is that probably didn't deserve to be parked up on the edge of the racetrack where it was. I believe Mackay had a really good getaway off the last corner, but that's not eventuated at a straight line speed as Stefan McCartan harasses him all the way to the right-hand side of the road. You can see the field. Everyone's chasing a little bit of tow. Lachlan Capel's going to try and catch back up to these guys as well. This is the battle now on for 4th spot. Don't forget Mackay has a 5-second penalty. He's really just hampering himself. This has allowed Sutton to see if he can't go after the 2 Mustangs that are at the front. Down to just over 15 minutes left on the season. And final moments of this one, 6 rounds, boils down to this. At the moment, no one is going to steal a title from Damon Woods in the final round of the season.
No, absolutely, and Zach Rattray-White looks pretty comfortable in P2. So, it looks like Ethan Bass has just had another little contact with somebody else. He's lost a bit of a front bumper there, so that might cause him a little bit of grief for the end of the race. We'll come back and see what that happens. But yeah, look, championship's looking pretty sturdy here right now for Damon Woods.
And something happened on the restart, and I believe it was car 144. Actually got a major jump on the restart. This is the incident, and there's actually daylight between those 2 cars at the point where they make contact. That was Stuart Ellis. Good news is he did actually straighten back out, but there was daylight between those 2 cars and nothing could have been done. Ethan Bass was the car that was on the outside at that point in time. Brad Coates has just managed to get on by him. Remember, Coates had damage earlier on in the race. He's now got a clean race car. Mackay carries a lot of speed in the middle sector of the lap, but he's just not quite able to get close enough to set Sutton to do anything about it. Scordelis has been handed a 10-second time penalty, and that is for passing before the control line.
Ooh, and that's a big penalty at this stage of the race. 13 minutes to go and the field's condensed. It's the same issue that's going to cause Dean Mackay some grief if he's not able to pull away. So I don't think Dean should really be racing Sam Sutton. What he's got to be focused on is actually building the gap and creating 5 seconds behind him if he can, to minimise the problem that he's got with that 5-second penalty. But right now, 5 seconds is going to put him down, Scotty, around about P10 or P11, I think, right now.
Yeah. Let alone think about car 144 and the fair whacker penalty that he's copped to this point. So, now everyone's scrubbing for a little bit of place, jockeying for position in that middle of the field. Yeaman now is plus 23 spots inside the top 10 in 7th, just behind teammate Lachlan Capel. They're both trying to track down Stefan McCartan. Dean Mackay's about to have a go at Sam Sutton in the final sector. This is difficult because Mackay went down the inside. Now he's on the outside at 14 and 15, and he'll be on the marbles, and McCartan's going to look to take every opportunity to get through on the pair of them. And Sutton will maintain around the outside. Remember, we talked about earlier on in the piece, Capel was run off the road and there was a slowdown penalty as a result. Mackay got better drive, got better traction off that final corner. But Sutton covers him all the way to the inside of the road. Mackay will hold the position, but have a look. Somebody better get that engine tested on board the Orbit drop air machine, because that thing is quick in a straight line. McCartan's coming as well. Sutton gets clear, covers it all the way to the inside of the road. One defensive move. McCartan will go the long way around. He gets tagged by Mackay.
Oh, that's not good news for Dean Mackay, I got to tell you. But that was, geez, those Orbit drop air cars, mate. How much speed have they got?
Yeah, and McCartan's immediately on the radio. And this is Denzel Waitan tagging Dylan Shepherd. But Shepherd was offline. How did he end up out there?
Oh, Scotty, well, Stefan McCartan's had another incident
there.
He's off into the barriers.
And he is
Stefan's requested the
absolutely
tow.
destroyed. That might just be left alone.
The race control certainly going to have some work cut out. This race has gone nuts. There's been about 4 incidents, Scotty, in the last lap. And I've got to tell you, I was just thinking, I've got so much time. Stefan McCartan, he's going to fan me whilst I've been doing this commentary, because I've got to tell you, all these guys that have picked the Mustang and they're out there saying, yeah, we've picked the fastest GT3. We're good drivers. We're racing, and they race hard. Don't be honest. But Stefan's dragged, the old Ferrari out, and he's got in there and he's mixed it with the best of them, and he's made a really good race for it. Unfortunately, he's been turned around there, and the results aren't going to show what Stefan's really been capable of. But what he's done with that Ferrari in the last 3 races has been absolutely massive, mate. I'll tell you what, Stefan's got a fan in me in terms of what he's been able to do with that Ferrari.
I think there was a bit of daylight between those cars as well. And something's happened to Matt Webber as well. He's also a little unsettled by what's going on. In the meantime, this is a 3-way battle for third. Sorry, 4-way battle for third on the road. 3 orbit drop bear machines in the fight. Dean Mackay still has that 5-second penalty. Actually, I just want to check where we're at with those penalties as well, because I want to make sure that none of them have been penalised, and I don't believe they had. It's just Mackay that hasn't.
And Scordillis. So Mackay and Scordillis are carrying penalties right now, and they're the 2 that will really jump out, and that's going to hurt Dean right now, because that really is going to put him down to, I think, P11 right now, from what I can see at the time. It's P11 or maybe P12. So he's got to get a move on. He has got to get in front of these cars, get a move on, and create some space. Because while all these cars are sitting behind him with only 9 minutes to go, Scotty, he hasn't got a lot of time to build 5 seconds and get effectively in front of them after.
If he can. If he can. And it's very, very clear the downforce level the car 1 is carrying because of where these cars swings, the season soars, if you will.
2 hours ago, Scotty, or an hour and a half ago, I talked about the orbit drop bear cars normally racing in a pack, right, in a group, and because of incidents, they kind of spread out through the field. Look what we got now. Look who's chasing Dean Mackay. 3 orbit drop bear cars, and they're in a pack. They're hunting.
Well, the other thing is, don't forget last time out, Capel and Sutton going at each other in the wet. How fun was that to watch from the teammates? Getting an opportunity to have a crack at each other. Also an update, car 73 has been issued a 10-second time penalty, so that'll be Stuart Ellis for contact with Ethan Bass. Now, I did say there was daylight between those cars, and there was, but race controls deemed it that they would have made contact regardless. Yeah,
which can happen, as you know, when you're snip code. And we got cars off again. We got Terry Marsh off, and we got looks like who's that? That's Angus Lawford off as well. So another turn 1 incident, Scotty. These guys haven't bloody relaxed at all, have they?
No. Well, I mean, you cork them up and you release them at the back end of the race. They are going to go at each other. The battle for the last spot on the podium at the moment is what we're watching. But I just want to keep half a thought for Ethan Bass. No, I was going to say there's a couple cars all stuck together at the moment. But no, realistically, the only battle pack is this one from about 9th, which is Blake Neck, all the way through to 4th. Sorry, 3rd, my apologies, 3rd. The front 2 have just skipped clear. They're not even in the same postcode at this point in time.
Interestingly, Dean Mackay, it seems to be driving in his mirror more than driving ahead right now, and I think that's probably costing him some time.
That's an interesting one. My favourite part about it is that Dean Mackay called out Zach Rattray White a whole bunch earlier on. Well, Sam Sutton just jumped on the radio and said, well, if Dean Mackay can call out other drivers, I can too. And he's just made a complaint about weaving on the main straight away, which is, to be honest, is fair enough. If Mackay's not happy about it, well, yeah, he's just going to have to ride it. So at the moment, we just had an issue. So just wanted to give you an update. on what's going on with the timing. Unfortunately, timing software has just broken for us at this point in time. What I can tell you is there's about 6 minutes and 30 seconds remaining currently. So not quite to 5 to go. We will be under 5 laps to go, I can tell you that much. And again, I will defer back to earlier on in the night. Remember if Dean Mackay just redressed that penalty earlier on? That's what I don't like about the situation. There was such a good opportunity to redress it, and then those two could have gone back at each other. And you know what? They probably would have gone at each other and had a quite clean battle. I think one of the other things that oftentimes gets dismissed is the psychological effect of a penalty. And a safety car. That's why I don't like them being time penalties when they could have just been redressed.
I get it, but look, at the end of the day, race controls made the call, and they might have had a chance to do another redress as well, but they've chosen to issue 5-second penalties, and that stands for the race. Unfortunately, late safety cars magnify those penalties, right? So if you don't have a safety car, you get all of that time to drag the car, the field spreads, and you can cover 5 seconds. In this case for Dean Mackay, over time would have covered that quite easily and not lost a spot. But the safety cars cost him a massive lot of position. But it's kind of the same risk, right? The safety car bunches up the field, and have a look at Stefan McCartan, for example, not carrying any penalties, just racing, gets a little bit of contact, and he's gone from 5th down to now 25, and still has had to tow, and he's out of the race. So, so safety cars can cause trouble, and it's not just because you're carrying a 5-second penalty. It's just because it bunches up the field, and as you know, racers want to be racers, and they just want to get ahead of the car in front of them.
Update for Dean Mackay. 10-second time penalty, contact with car 151. Stefan McCartan a couple laps ago. So now it's 15 seconds that are loading, 5 of them debatable. And potential for protest post-race. It might get revoked, but 10 seconds I don't think is getting revoked later on. So for Dean Mackay, whilst he sits on the podium, that is not where he's going to finish post-race. For Sam Sutton, he's only going to stay within 10 seconds of him. And with under 5 minutes on the board, it is 4 minutes right now, which means I think we're going to get 3 laps, including the current one we're on. In fact, I'll confirm that. We'll get 3 more laps. It'll be 2 at the conclusion of this one.
Well,
Blake Neck.
Yeah, Blake Neck currently running P9, up 7 spots, but he's going to get a spot from SUDSPEED. He's going to get a spot from Dean Mackay from penalties. So that's 2. So that's putting up 7. Is he going to get another spot from the race? Is he going to get up to potentially P6, P5 as he gets another one? But I tell you what, Scotty, Dan Yeaman, got to be call out Dan Yeaman, driver of the day, P24. I don't know why he qualified so badly, or whether that was an issue because he changed cars, but he did start from rear grid, and sometimes I think the rear grid starters shouldn't necessarily be driver of the day just because they overtake a lot of cars. But let's call it out for what it is. 24 positions in this field is a magnificent drive. Next closest is Brock Caddo, sitting in 14th. He's up 18 positions, so he started from quite a way back down the field as well.
Yeah, update as well is that Stefan McCartan's received 5 seconds for contact, although his race is well and truly over. So, do wonder about that one.
That would have been the second contact after Stefan got going. Once when he was turned at turn 1, he got going, and then he had another contact just on the exit to turn 6 with somebody else. So that's where that penalty would have come from. That was the one that sent him into the wall.
This is Brad Coates and Ethan Bass going at each other down into turn 1. Coates still a little bit of damage on the front corner of the McLaren, but he has the higher downforce. So if he can survive through this next corner, he will have Ethan Bass through the middle of the lap, and there might be the ability to pull enough of a margin, but off track and carrying over that curb by a significant margin. And slow down penalty coming the way of Brad Coates. The problem is he's got to yield time, but he's got to do it in the space of the track where he was looking to gain an advantage. Has he cleared that penalty? I believe he has now done so. This will bring Matt Webber in behind these guys into the equation just a little bit. Coates will get back up the inside at the chicane. Manages to hang on to it for now, but he's got to recover and drive up and over the curb. Manages to drive out the other side. Now he's made a mistake, actually.
Just to be got away from him, yeah. He's made a mistake. There's Barney, mate. 1 lap to go. We are on our last lap.
One more lap to go. SUDSPEED GT3 Open Series. One final time, and it's around Fuji. Now there's a bit of contact at the final corner. Ethan Bass, they'll go 3 wide as they come off the last corner. I cannot believe that. Matt Webber has picked the pockets of the pair of them. And he will go through. Who is going to be able to challenge for it as they run down the start-finish straight? Here comes the Orbit Drop Band Mustang. Gets blocked all the way to the end of the inside of the road. But there was overlap before they got to the white line. 3 wide once more to turn 1. Little bit of contact between Webber and Coates. Bass will pick the pockets again. He will get 1 spot. Coates will go around. He will not continue in this battle. This will now be Mustang on Mustang.
Oh, I love a bit of side banging action, Scotty. That's all. I mean, look, all the cars were like directly side by side, so I don't think the car in the middle there had anywhere to go, but other than the banging inside the cars. But yeah, oh, there we go. We got another space shuttle taken off.
Yeah, and it's race leader Damon Woods as he bounces over the sausage curb, exiting the chicane for the final time today. Final couple of corners. 5 races from this series of the 6. 5 race wins. Missed out last time out at the other Japanese circuit on the calendar at Motegi. But for 5 races from 5, Damon Woods is going to win them all. He'll take the championship as well. I'm just seeing as well a little bit further in the background, Ben Jeffrey will recover back onto the road. Something happened to him on the final lap. Dean Mackay crosses the line in 3rd, but will not finish there. I think Lachlan Capel might have just been gifted the spot at the line. No, they tried to go even, and indeed they did. There was less than 2 tenths. They finished side by side. And there'll be a little bit of celebrations down in turn 1 for race and championship winner. The rest of the field on their way through. At this time, final couple of cars as they will cross the start-finish line. I think Denzel Waitan wasn't expecting everyone to jump on the anchors so quickly. He tries to take avoiding action, hit the barriers rather hard. That is it. There is 3 more cars to cross the line, make it to... I think actually there might be a little bit of a battle for the final spot, and indeed there is. Ben Jeffrey just let Terry Marsh on through out of the final corner. He's got issues on the front end of his car. So something happened to Ben Jeffrey on the final lap of that race as well. Will make the finish line. And I heard there was contact between Kurt Chapman and someone at the finish line as well. No, sorry, it wasn't Denzel. It was Kurt Chapman. It was a black Mustang, and I thought the only one we had here tonight was Waitan. It wasn't. Kurt Chapman was the other. So he had issues at the finish line. Right. Woods will manage to take it after that late safety car with under 20 to go. Built up 2 minutes of an advantage in less than 20 minutes. How's that for a little bit of pace at the back end? Dean Mackay will get 15 seconds worth of post-race penalties. He will not finish in 3rd spot. He will fall down to 22 seconds off of the race lead, which will slot him down into 10th spot. Move everyone inside that top 10 up by 1. Sam Sutton will come home ahead of Lachlan Capel, ahead of Dan Yeaman, who will finish inside the top 5 after starting from 30th, I believe, for Yeaman. So he will gain 25 spots to the end of that one. Andrew Scordilis inside the 10 as well. Gets back to 7th spot after starting 7th spot, but he had issues early on and had to come back through. Blake Neck will climb to 8th spot from 16th, halving his started position. Stuart Ellis will finish 9th and then slot Dean Mackay in behind those guys. Outside of the 10, 11th spot is going to be that of Ethan Bass. And again, there are probably a couple penalties to shuffle into the middle of this that I don't have tracked at this point in time, ladies and gents. Ethan Bass from Matt Webber, Alex Cattle, Martin Hallen and Kurt Chapman, who had issues, remember, on that last lap. 15th spot, taking evasive action. Brock Cut-Eye from Angus Lawford, Brad Coates, Harry Dodds and Brent Tucker to round out the 20. Final 2 cars on the lead lap will be Terry Marsh and Ben Jeffrey. Adam Hughes finished the race 5 laps from home. Didn't actually make the start-finish line from Denzel Waitan, 7 laps from home. Stephen McCartan also 7 from home. Dylan Shepherd 8 laps from home. Stu Shaw 13, Trent Allen 16. Owen Coleman called it early on that one and won't finish alongside of Bobby Camo. Were those cars that made the field here tonight. I can tell you, we know our champion well and truly in advance because you can't lose points to your rivals when you're out there and winning the race.
No,
So,
Damon Wood, Scotty, it's just been a class above the rest. Every race he's been in, he's been out the front. It shows in his iRating. The guy is an absolute alien. Zach Rattray White. He's done his best to keep up with him, and he didn't do too bad. He's in 2.2 seconds at the end, but I think that was saved by a safety car because Damon had pulled out a 12-second lead at one stage down the race. So, absolute superstar, and I think a worthy champion.
important to note, I think, as well, Sam Sutton actually scored points and he'll actually grab a spot. I was just thinking about what were the championship implications of that one. And Sutton, I think, moves from, there was a 2-point margin between himself and Adam Hughes coming into the final round. He'll jump that spot. Dan Yeaman will actually grab a spot over Stephen McCartan, as will Stuart Ellis as well. Righto, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to rattle through these to finish us off for the end of the season. Proud to introduce our champion for season number 2 in 2025. And Fuji is a stunning little racetrack, challenging, tricky, a lot of sectors that fold back on themselves. Keeping the car underneath you was a challenge. But Damon, I don't think anyone ever saw a challenge from the rear end of your car all night long. That looked, yet again, completely clean, clear, and under control, mate. Congratulations on a championship.
Yeah, mate. The car was dialed. Zach did an awesome job on the setup this week. So, yeah, can't thank him enough for the effort he put in. And, yeah, the thing was an absolute dream to drive. Had no problems in the last sector, which is where most of the lap time is around this place. So, yeah, can't complain. Another championship to add to the tally.
Mate, a lot of work, obviously, to go off and race again tonight. It's nice when you can just show up and trust that your teammates got your back, and it's just about keeping things cool, calm, and collected. I think the big thing for you is, a lot of challenges coming your way. There's been a lot of different people who have chased you guys down this year. You obviously lead still at the front end of things, but that margin is starting to shrink. We are definitely seeing a lot of growth in the Australian GT3 scene. Yeah,
it's great to see. I mean, I'm not against having guys that can compete against us. So, yeah, I think when we come to OSR 12 hour at the start of next year, it's going to be very, very close. So a lot of work's going to be have to be done by our boys to try and keep the margin that we've got at the moment. But, yeah, like I said, it's awesome to see that there's some genuine talent that's buried in the depths of GT3 in Australia. So hopefully some of them can get their stuff together, and then we maybe see them in Europe, not too far away.
Mate, big thing is onwards and upwards. There's a little bit of a check balance change, I think, coming at the back end of this season. So a fair bit. Christmas doesn't come with just a nice, easy sit down and relax. But what are you going to try and get up to over the holidays?
I don't really know, to be fair. I'm probably going to take a bit of a break from sim racing. Still going to be doing it, obviously, but yeah, not to the same extent I've been doing throughout the whole year. Take a couple of weeks off just to kind of reset, and then focus forward going into Daytona 24 and obviously Bathurst as well at the start of 2026, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Mate, finally, I'll give the floor all the way over to you. This one is yours. Who would you like to give a thank you and a shout out to?
Big thanks to Zach. Him being a teammate has helped not just in this championship, but also in GT Pro and also in Supercars as well. So I can't thank his work enough. It's definitely helped me and definitely helped a lot of our other boys be up the front. So huge props to him. Thor Esports for all their support as well. Obviously we got IMSA Esports tonight as well. So see if we can get a good result to finish off the year. And obviously the PEL boys for always putting on a fantastic show. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Damon Woods, 2025 second half of the year champion and race winner here tonight. 5 races from 5 continues to add to that successful tally. Thank you very much for your time, Damon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Well, normally I get to a lot of opportunity to talk to the next man and rattle his cage, but Pete, it's your turn to rattle the cage of Mr. Zach Rattray White tonight.
Zach, welcome to the podium, mate. We watch you in Pro Series. We watch you in Premier Endurance League. Fabulous race tonight. Obviously, Damon had a whole lot of speed on you, but you had a battle there with Dean Mackay the whole night, mate. How did you go? Talk us through your race.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the one with the rattle cage tonight, quietly, but I mean credit to Damon. He smoked me on the same setup, so I can't. I don't have any excuses tonight. I mean, I'm feeling a little ill. Been ill for a week, but I mean, that won't. That doesn't excuse the 4/10 a lap off the pace. So, look, from my side, it was a pretty chill race. I mean, I was just minding my own business and kind of just doing what I needed to do to get what I needed in position 2 and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It looked like it was a bit feisty in the back half at the end of the race there.
I think it was a bit feisty for everybody. You had your own feisty moment down at turn 10 with Dean Mackay. A little bit of grass tracking for you.
Yeah, I mean, the stewards kind of decided what side of the fence the blame was on. I mean, I kind of know where to put my car in that position. I mean, if it's the stewards are quite harsh in this series, if I say so myself. So I kind of knew that if I got forced off it anyway, it was pretty much guaranteed to be a penalty. So that's just how you have to play it each series. Every steward is different and they see incidents differently and penalise them differently and whatnot, but that's just how it goes.
I don't know, Scotty. I might have to take that as a pat on the back, saying I'm not a harsh steward. But but Zach, absolutely fabulous. Damon gave you credit for the setup, and rightfully so. If you put the setup together and he's jumped in the car and blitzed you, well done. You still did the work to put the setup on. So heaps of credit to you there. P2 tonight, P2 in the championship as well. How does that make you feel?
Oh, look, I mean, it's almost a bit of a best of the rest deal because Damo is just so much better than everyone here. So, look, to come second behind him isn't a small feat. At least isn't in my book. So, I mean, I'm quite happy just to snag a small second and go about my days.
Absolutely. Well, Damon gave you a big shake up, mate, and a big thank you. So, who do you want to thank for your racing?
Well, I'll thank Damo first because obviously he thanked me and whatnot. But I mean, he does put in so much more effort than he probably puts out. The admins, of course, for giving me the opportunity to race this cool series and stuff. So, and you guys for the broadcast as well. You guys do an excellent job.
Good on you, Zach, mate. From me, from Scotty, from Jay, and from the admins, congratulations on your P2 tonight. Congratulations on your second in the championship for season 2 of the SUDSPEED Premier League Open Racing. One more step, and that would make, I'll tell you what, if you can beat Damon Woods next year, that would make you an absolute true champion. So keep on fighting, and we'll see you back on track next year.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Finally,
Scotty, back to you, mate. Sam Sutton.
We'll take a step down to the final step of the rostrum here tonight. Challenging final battle there, Sam. You went long in terms of the fuel, particularly in that opening stint. The thing about Fuji is there's a massive battles that go on all the time, and sometimes one of the best things you can do is just sit, let the guys go along at their speed, because oftentimes there's not much you couldn't really be pulling away from them when you're in front. I think that was the approach that you went with in that first stint. Just sit there, watch the racing action, don't bend the tyres, and save a little bit of fuel in the process.
Yeah, just ran my own race for sort of the first hour and a bit in those first 2 stints. Surprised more people didn't actually do the fuel save. Was never going to catch really Damo or Zach. Dean had a bit of an issue with strategy that put him back with the rest of us. The first safety car was timed pretty well for me, sort of just able to put a full tank of fuel in and had a couple of laps over the field, and then the second safety car, just had to make sure I jumped those OPR cars so I could have a cleaner run at Dean, and we obviously had a straight line advantage tonight, so I was able to play with that, and we knew the 5 seconds were hanging over Dean's head, so we just sort of try to kill some laps and not let him get too far up the road by having a bit of a battle there, and ultimately it was a good race for all three of us ODBM cars there, 3, 4, 5, and Ethan had a pretty solid night tonight as well.
Mate, in terms of the championship and everything, it's been important for you guys. I think you guys have been largely using this as just sort of keeping everyone in a rhythm, making sure everyone's practicing and something to chase as well. Next year, there's another step that's required to go in pursuit of those couple cars at the front. Does this mean a little bit of a break over the Christmas and New Year's break? Does this mean, you know, work probably continues on a fair bit, particularly with Daytona looming large in the near future?
Yeah, I think you'll see a couple of us continue to rock up in the Open Series, maybe a few more in the Limited, just to it's fun to just do some endurance racing on a Sunday night. It's the most fun form of racing on iRacing for me. So, and these cars are better now after the refresh. So we'll be here just to have a bit of a fun. I don't think we'll ever really challenge Damo or Zach with the people who rock up for this series. Yeah, we're just here to drive some cars and play around with some setup stuff and have a bit of fun. So,
mate, finally, congratulations on the result here tonight. Who would you like to give a thank you to?
Yeah, thanks to Revolution Race Gear and iLiveries, and thanks to the guys at ODM.
Congratulations, Sam Sutton, on third place here tonight. That brings us to a close on the championship, ladies and gentlemen, but I can let you know that championship winner Damon Woods, P2, will definitely be that of Zach Rattray White, and I believe Dean Mackay's done enough to lock down third place in the championship as well. It will be tight, though. Keep an eye on the social media as we wait to find out the final results for that one. That brings us to a close on the championship, Pete, and the big one is one more round yet to go for the series, for the league. We are off to GT3 Limited from Fuji again next Sunday night, but thoughts on the championship, particularly from the Open Series?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's been a fabulous series to be able to be a part of, Scotty, because, you know, it's the first year that PL have done the Open Series, and we're able to see, you know, the Australian drivers that, you know, are above that 3.5 KI, you know, the aliens of the group. You know, and anybody who's watching who races either in the Limited or other GT3 cars, you know, these guys are demonstrating the capability and the times that, you know, ultimately everybody should be aiming at. You know, most of us that are, you know, just your average iRacer, you know, your mid-pack madness, you know, that we all race, or back of the pack for me. You know, I now know how 2 seconds behind where that looks like. So, but look, you know, to see these guys race, banging doors, and in a lot of cases, the best of the racers are able to bang doors, but not upset each other, that it upsets the race, and it makes for really good, entertaining races. It proves to us that it can be done. So I'm not saying go out there and bang doors in officials, because, to be honest, most people can't handle it. And I'll tell you what, somebody bangs me, I normally get turned around, because, you know, I'm not quick enough on the steering wheel. But these superstars of the Open Series, mate, absolute pleasure to watch. They've been fantastic, and it's been great to be a part of. Thank you, Scotty, for coming along. It's been great to work with you and also with Jay in the background, and be able to put this broadcast on.
Yeah, I just want to say big shout out to everyone that's been here, as well as to the series sponsors as well. I know it doesn't happen without the race control, the admin team, everybody, and all the work that goes into this one. Open might be done for the year. There's still 1 week worth of everything still yet to be done on behalf of all the sponsors as well. Like I said, we got a little bit of opportunity to segue quite nicely and give SUDSPEED some coverage tonight, but I can't say big enough thank you to both Chris Ruddle and Richard Mayer as well. They have a lot of fun putting together the product and best pair of racing gloves you might be able to put your hands on, but they also have a lot of fun with it, and they enjoy the fact that they get to bring their business to us all, and the big thing is support a league that they partake in, particularly from the Open side of things. So big shout out to those guys. Also to Jay as well, who sits behind the screen. You actually got to hear him for a few minutes tonight, as unfortunately some family stuff took over for me that I had to keep an eye on and handle before I was able to jump in earlier on here tonight as well. I also want to say a shout out to Kibby Graphics and Sim Racing and Focus, the other sponsors that make it possible here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. Reminder, Damon Woods, champion here tonight, as well as your race winner from Fuji. One more time, we will go racing for Premier Endurance League in 2025. We'll see you all next weekend.